Testing, 1, 2. All right. So it's very happy to see all of you here today. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host MC for today, Dr. Fong. Professor Dr. Shaliza Ibrahim, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation of University Malaya. Professor Dr. Abriza Abdullah, Chair of Planetary Health, Capacity Building and Awareness Program, and Dean of Institute for Advanced Studies. Professor Dr. Nosada Abdurrahman, Honorary Professor of Institute for Advanced Studies. Esteemed forum moderator and panel speakers, namely Professor Dr. Nick Sulaiman, Advisor, Sustainability and Development Center Yang berbahagia, Datuk Prof. Dr. Azizan Baharudin, Director, Center for Civilizational Dialogue Puan Hazami Habib, CEO of Academy of Sciences Malaysia. Ms. Shirley Vincent Ramesh, Head of Regulatory Affairs for Southeast Asia, Japan, Korea, and Australia. Novozymes Malaysia Sindram Berhad, and member of Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers. Dr. Rezo Ginto, Chief Planetary Health Scientist, Sunway Center for Planetary Health. Distinguished guests, partners, and collaborators that are with us in the auditorium. And last but not least, the audience that are with us live online. Welcome to the special forum, Planetary Health Education Agenda, Healthier Planet for All, hosted by Institute for Advanced Studies with the collaboration of Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation. Before we begin, here are a few housekeeping announcements. We'll do our best to facilitate a smooth forum with public participation. I would also like to review some guidelines and general instructions for the forum. These are very important, so I ask that you pay close attention. So we have two formats for participation, physical attendance as well as live feed on University Malaya's Facebook and YouTube. So for physical attendees, please silence your mobile phone and other communication devices to ensure that we are not hearing any feedback or causing interruption during the forum. So if you have questions, please wait until the chair opens the session to Q&A. The mic is prepared in the center of the auditorium there. And for those online, if you would like to raise a question, you may do so in the comment sections. Please be reminded that this session is live and recorded. In case of an emergency which requires evacuation, please exit out through your nearest exit, which is located in the front and the back of the auditorium. The assembly point is at the open space located next to this auditorium. If you need any further assistance, please talk to our Secretariat members. The Secretariat will share a survey form towards the end of the forum. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Abriza Abdullah, our dearest Dean of Institute for Advanced Studies and also the Chairperson of University Malaya Planetary Health, for the welcoming remark.
Thank you, Dr. Fong. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, selamat sejahtera. Yang berusaha Profesor Insinyur Dr. Shaliza Ibrahim, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation, University Malaya. Esteemed forum moderator and panelists for today's event, and our distinguished guests, deans and directors from faculties, thank you very much for your presence. Prof. Saada, our advisor, mentor professor, partners and collaborators who have been together with us, for the past 1 month, for the past 30 days, in various activities that we have done. Ladies and gentlemen, especially my academic colleagues from various faculties, and also live stream viewers from Facebook, and YouTube. So welcome to the Institute for Advanced Studies, or IAS. Thank you to each and every one of you here for being here with us today for the Planetary Health Special Forum. And on behalf of the Institute, I'm very, very pleased specifically to welcome those of you who have known the Institute for quite some time. When it was first established as the Institute of Advanced Studies in August 1979 by the then Vice Chancellor, the Royal Professor Engku Abdul Aziz, who envisioned the Institute of Advanced Studies, IAS, as the Center for Advanced Interdisciplinary Program that would strengthen graduate studies and research activities in existing faculties and centers and academies of the universities at that time. And also for those of you who are new to the institute is rather new. Institute for Advanced Studies was established in October 2018 as the central platform for multidisciplinary academic and research program at the University Malaya. So for your information, the Institute promotes academic programs aligned with the university's strategic guiding themes, supporting multidisciplinary research activities, research ideas, partnering especially with University of Malaya High COE and COE, and also with the various faculties and academies. So for the past 1 month, we have been conducting the capacity building and awareness program for Planetary Health. This is an effort to develop an innovative multidisciplinary program as potential signature academic program offered by the Institute. So in this context, Planetary Health is emerging as a new scientific and professional field focused on promoting profound changes in our societies so that we can continue to improve the health of humanity within the sustainable limits of our planet in a just and equitable society. So since Planetary Health is aimed at people who hope to work from within their respective disciplines to help maintain the health and well-being of the population and the planet, we need to promote research and training. This is what we believe, okay? We need to promote research and also training in planetary health, not only among health practitioners, but also among professionals in other fields, such as the natural sciences, the hard social sciences, politics, economics, technology, as well as the soft social sciences, arts and humanities. So this actually ties perfectly with the function of IES, which began in 2018 as the central platform for multidisciplinary academic and research program across the entire University Malaya to generate and transmit new knowledge based around this concept and hopefully to serve as the academic home of national and international scholars from all over the world from various disciplines. So the use of planetary health lens and development of an academic program centered the need to communicate planetary health topics to the public. So far, we have been communicating planetary health to the campus community through 3 webinars this month, okay, involving 12 potential key players in a variety of planetary health thematic areas, and to the public through various postings and instructional materials, maximizing the power of the social web. So we also created an inclusive communication strategy that covers physical activities conducted at Rimba Ilmu just last Saturday, our tropical botanical garden that is modeled after a rainforest garden concept, and this is one of the priceless assets owned by University Malaya, which can provide a fine setting for the planetary health education, where we brought in recently on Saturday about 250 people, right, comprising diploma students, foundation students, undergraduates, postgraduates, both locals and international, our alumni, staff, administrators, and of course the academics and researchers. And this is an effort to raise awareness surrounding planetary health and the actions that need to be undertaken to ensure a healthier planet for the future. So IAS hopes in the next few months we'll be able to conduct in-depth market survey, okay, involving major stakeholders, all right, for an academic program and different initiatives through our planned outreach and engagement activities, seminars, special events and collaboration with other key players at the national and international level. So one of them is here. Okay, so today marks our final event for the Planetary Health Awareness Month with a special forum carrying the theme Planetary Health Education Agenda, Healthier Planet for All. So we are proud to be able to host it today with all of you here, and I hope that we are able, hopefully we are able to, the discussions later on, okay, will provide a framework, foundation, or the domains as a guide for a transdisciplinarity Transdisciplinarity Planetary Health Education Program. Professor, we are very pleased to be able to bring together with us today, okay, the thought leaders, I would say, all right, and also key players on planetary health in the country, moderated by Professor Dr. Nik Mariam Nik Sulaiman, and also paneled by Yang Berbahagia Dato' Professor Dr. Azizan Dr. Azizan Baharudin, Puan Hazami Habib. Thank you very much, Puan Hazami, for during the last minute arrangement, being able to be with us today. Ms. Shirley Vincent Ramesh, thank you, and Dr. Renzo Guinto. So before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who generously help us to make Planetary Health, that is only 1 month old, come together to come a success. All right. So especially to our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Shaliza Ibrahim, and our co-organizer, the Research Team, comprising Community Engagement Center, CARES, High COEs, the Higher Institution Centers of Excellence, and also the Center of Excellence, Sustainability and Development Center, and of course our Rimba Ilmu. So for today's event, some PTJs need to be specially mentioned here, especially the Corporate Communication Office, and also PTM, Pusat Teknologi Maklumat, as well as JPPHP. And last but not least, to the IES board members and IES Academic Advisory Committee for being able to convince us that this is the way to go for the Institute to actually develop one signature program that is very transdisciplinary. And we could not have done it without you all, and for that, I'm very, very grateful. Once again, a very warm welcome to everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Abriza. We are extremely fortunate that Professor Dr. Shaliza Ibrahim, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation, is present today as our guest of honor, despite her tight schedule. Thank you, Prof. Shaliza, for being with us. Next, I would like to invite Prof. Shaliza for the opening speech.
Thank you, Dr. Fong. Professor Dr. Abriza Abdullah, Chair of Planetary Health and Dean, Institute for Advanced Studies, esteemed forum moderator and panel speakers, Professor Dr. Nik Mariam Sulaiman, Advisor, Sustainability and Development Center of Yang Berbahagia Datuk Professor Dr. Azizan Baharudin, Director, Center for Civilizational Dialogue, Puan Hazami Habib, Chief Executive Officer, Academy of Sciences Malaysia, Ms. Shirley Vincent Ramesh, Head of Regulatory Affairs for Southeast Asia, Japan, Korea, and Australia, Novozymes Malaysia, Sdn Bhd, Dr. Renzo Guito, Chief Planetary Health Scientist, Sunway Center for Planetary Health, Professor Nozada, our distinguished guests, partners and collaborators. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. On behalf of the University of Malaya, I'm privileged and honored to extend a warm welcome to all of you to the Planetary Health Special Forum 2022. The theme of this special forum, Planetary Health Education Agenda, Healthier Planet for All, is very apt as it provides a timely platform for all to interact and share ideas on various topics and issues pertaining to the health of the planet and how education can make an important contribution to society at large. I cannot stress enough the importance of the theme of the forum for higher education, as societal impact has always been and will remain a core task of universities. It redefines the fundamental role of higher education institutions towards sustainability of societies and creating societal impact. Through this forum, University of Malaya uphold its vision and mission to be a global university impacting the world, in pushing boundaries of knowledge and nurturing aspiring leaders. will continue to lead in research and make real impact that will benefit the society, going beyond the academic impact. Research should not be assessed on scientific impact alone, but on how much its generated knowledge contributes towards addressing societal challenges, and the focus of the near future is on planetary health. The premise of planetary health is that human well-being over the long term depends on the well-being of the Earth, including both its living and non-living systems. The choice of the forum's theme reflects the high regard the international fraternity has in changing the world for the better. I look forward to listening to the interesting and stimulating discussions of representatives from the government sector, higher education, dialogue center, and the industry in our panel of speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in the geological era, the Anthropocene, characterized by humanity's dramatic impact on Earth's biophysical conditions. With the improvement in the average global citizen's health over the past century, the stability of our planet's life support system has sharply declined, putting recent public health and development gains at risk. Never before has humanity's footprint on Earth's natural systems been so large. We are outstripping available resources from the only habitable planet that we know. Planetary health is a solutions-oriented transdisciplinary field and social movement focused on analyzing and addressing the impacts of human disruptions on Earth's natural system, on human health, and on life on Earth. Everything is connected to everything else. What we do to the world comes back to affect us in, and not always in ways that we would expect. Understanding and acting upon these challenges call for massive collaboration across disciplinary and national boundaries to safeguard our health. However, many of our best efforts today remain siloed, fragmented, or rivalrous. We envisage that planetary health education will contribute to the positive outcomes for the biosphere, overcoming the planetary health challenges before us. In line with government's direction for a national planetary health action plan, the Planetary Health aims to raise awareness about the power and critical need for planetary health, inspire our community to create, steward, and conserve health ecosystems for a thriving human civilization, guide the education of our citizens, practitioners, and professionals who are able and willing to address the complex planetary health challenges of the world today. Distinguished guests, I'm happy that the Institute for Advanced Studies has stepped up to lead this planetary health initiative. What more, I'm delighted to share that the IAS is now an official member of the Planetary Health Alliance. Congratulations. I believe the strategic position of IAS championing multidisciplinary research will help to advance the planetary health initiative, not only in but also leading this country and neighboring region towards a better and healthier planet. I believe we have chosen a venue that guarantees a successful forum. I would like to express my gratitude to Institute for Advanced Studies as the main organizer of the UMPH Capacity Building and Awareness Program, led by Professor Dr. Abriza Abdullah, Professor Nur Saadah Abdul Rahman, our former Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research and Innovation, and with the strong support and participation from research team comprising the Community Engagement Center, CARES, our higher institution centers of excellence, high COEs, Centers of Excellence, COEs, the Sustainability and Development Center, and Rimba Ilmu, the IAS board members, and the IAS Academic Advisory Committee. And with that, I wish everyone a delightful and stimulating forum discussion. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Shaliza. So before I hand over the session to the chair of the forum, it is my great honor to introduce her. Honorary Professor Dr. Nik Mariam Sulaiman is a Fellow of Academy of Sciences Malaysia and is currently an Honorary Professor at Sustainability and Development Center. She has a background in chemical engineering. She obtained her bachelor's and master's degrees in chemical engineering from University of New South Wales, Australia. She went on to pursue her PhD in chemical engineering at Birmingham University, UK. She joined University Malaya as an academic staff in 1983 and has now served as an active member of the academic community for more than 30 years, next year being the 40th. Her research interests have always been grounded in the environment and sustainability science, with a special leaning toward the participation of engineers for a sustainable future. Her special interests include environmental management strategies, life cycle management, environmental education, membrane processes, and air pollution. She was also the Malaysian coordinator for the JSPS Asia Core project with Kyoto University from 2011 to 2015, working on integrated watershed management. Besides teaching and research, her foray into academia involves several administrative posts, including as founder, Dean of Sustainability Science in She was the holder of Dr. Siti Hasma's Professorial Chair in University Malaya from 2010 to 2014, an academic position created at the level of professor in recognition of their significant contribution and awarded to a person who has distinguished themselves in the discipline they represent. Her work then was focused on sustainable processes for the SMEs in Malaysia, particularly the batik industry. She offers advisory and expertise in sustainability-related concerns, both for government and business sectors, especially with reference to the process industries. Let us put our hand together to welcome Prof. Nik Mariam to chair the special forum session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fong, for the lengthy CV. I expected a small one, but I think I forgive you because he's my ex-student. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And salam sejahtera to everyone. Yang berbahagia Dr. Insinyur Shaliza Ibrahim. Yang berbahagia Prof. Dr. Abriza Abdullah, Dean of IPS. Prof. Nur Saada, Honorary Advisor, our lineup of very esteemed speakers for today from academia, industry, and civil society, I hope, although not here, maybe online. Our physical participants in the room, and last but not least, our virtual friends in cyberspace. Hello, everyone. I feel very honored to be given the chance to moderate today. I have always said that I am a pensioner, but not a retiree in that sense. And I feel so happy because we are among friends. The ones that I've made in the last century, they're still here. And I know we're going to make more friends from today onward. I'm looking at Dr. Renzo especially. Okay, as said by Prof. Abriza tadi, just now, today marks the end of the beginning of the Awareness Month, led by IAS. Kudos to IAS for taking the initiative to have so many webinars, I think at least 3, and also the Explorers last Saturday. And I think we are here today to see what we can go on from now. And I really congratulate to know that Prof. Abriza was saying that you are now a member of Planetary Health Alliance. Give a clap. Okay, so as a moderator, I'm going to make it very S-like. Simple, sweet, santai, because we are among friends. We don't want to be stressed by all these things, okay? And tomorrow is holiday. So, but as a moderator, I would like to give some ground rules that we are going to follow. I'm sorry that I didn't share earlier. Sometimes when I go to forum, we are not given earlier. Sometimes they give you first. But I know these people are seasoned people, and they can adapt very quickly. But what we will do today to make a trade-off between the logistics of coming here and then turning your head to see the presentation and so on. Normally, a forum can be a discourse on just a discussion if we don't have much time. But because we have a little bit of time today, we're going to do a hybrid mode. So, and I think because the opportunity for the presenters to show at least 10 minutes of slide, but I say 10 minutes of slide only. And then we are going to, we will call one by one to come here on the rostrum to give the 10-minute slide. Then we will arrange the chairs again so that we can have a discussion. And the discussion, I will be mixing it together with Q&A so that, you know, it will be interspersed more interactively, both from the audience as well as from cyberspace. So Dr. Fong will be helping me to see if there are any questions coming from the cyberspace and so on. So the modus operandi is each speaker presents a 10-minute slideshow, one after another, and you are in for, I don't follow that rule because there are some requests, but don't worry. Then we follow with a discussion, as we said just now when we come together, and that will be interspersed with the discussion time from both the audience and for myself to fill in the gaps and whatever. So there will be closing statements from all, and then there we are, we're finished for the day. Okay, so shall we start the ball rolling? And I'm happy to say, I didn't mention the names of the who will be first. Don't worry, I'm looking at the thorn in the bush on the names there. And it happens to be Dr. Renzo. So I'm going to read a little bit of CV about him. You know, if you want to know about Planetary Health, this is the right person. He has such an impressive CV. And he will give you up to date on the journey of the Planetary Health. Now, Dr. Renzo Guinto is the Chief Planetary Health Scientist and co-founder of the newly established Sunway Center for Planetary Health in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. At the same time, he is also the Associate Professor in the practice of global health and global public health and planetary and global health program at St. Luke's University in Philippines. So he comes from this region. And you know, his credentials are, yeah, you can read some of them there. But I would like to point out that Dr. Renzo obtained his Doctor of Public Health from Harvard and Doctor of Medicine from Philippines. He has been all over the world, has written so many reports, and really we're looking forward to your 10 minutes on planetary health, because Sunway is also the first university in Malaysia, I must say, to start on this journey of planetary health as well. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Prof. Nick, for that very generous introduction. How do I do it? Yep, okay. And again, good morning, everyone. I'm really, really thrilled to be here at the University Malaya, of course, with friends, both old and new. And we really look forward to collaborating with in not just establishing planetary health in this university, but really advancing planetary health in Malaysia and in the Southeast Asian region. So for the next several minutes, I'll be talking about, some of the discussions, the discourse around planetary health, the frameworks, the innovations that are arising, especially in this region. But also, I would like to share a bit of the story of the Sunway Center for Planetary Health. Unfortunately, our Executive Director, Tansri Professor Dr. Jamila Mahmood, could not make it in this convening because of her very busy schedule, but she's conveying her gratitude to all of you, and also really expressing her interest in collaborating with University Malaya in, again, establishing planetary health moving forward. So, of course, we need to acknowledge the moment where we are in right now. Probably many of you are still very concerned about the first wave or the future waves of COVID-19. Maybe there'll be another Omicron-like surge. But I think, and we think at the Sunway Center, we believe that we cannot ignore not just the future waves, but also future tsunamis of climate change and biodiversity collapse and many other planetary threats that will jeopardize the health of human populations. And it was already mentioned a while ago by our Vice Chancellor that we live in the epoch of the Anthropocene. It's human activities that are shaping the face of the earth, not anymore some natural phenomena. And we know that what we do to the planet, they come back to us in the form of human disease, despair, and even death. And so I'll not belabor you with the details of this diagram. It's from the Lancet, but it shows to you, again, what we do to the planet comes back to us in the form of human health impacts. And therefore, in 2015, the Lancet, which is, I'm sure everybody's familiar with, a world-renowned medical journal, and the Rockefeller Foundation joined forces to establish and to publish this report introducing this new concept of planetary health. It is time for a new discipline that will safeguard the health of people in the epoch of the Anthropocene. So if you have not yet read this 50-page report, I would encourage all of us to do so. And planetary health has been defined in various ways. If you look at that 2015 report, it defines planetary health as the health of the human civilization and the natural systems on which it depends. So it's both the health of people, but also the health of the planet. And a while ago, it was also described by our Vice Chancellor that planetary health, you Google the website of the Planetary Health Alliance, and of course, I congratulate for being the newest member of the PHA from Southeast Asia, right? And so I always feel so thrilled and excited when, neighboring universities and institutions in this part of the world become part of PHA. And together, Sunway, and all the others, we will recruit more so that we have a much bigger gang of planetary health advocates in this part of the world. So if you go to the website of the Planetary Health Alliance, it actually defined planetary health or redefined it again, as a solutions-oriented, transdisciplinary field and social movement. So it's not just an academic field, it's a social movement focused on analyzing and addressing the impacts of human disruptions to Earth's natural systems. That's the Anthropocene part, on human health and all life on Earth. So it's not just about the health of people. It's also about the health of creatures, great and small, that constitute this planet. And so I wonder, is there any representative from the veterinary medicine school or, the ones working in the field of entomology or microbiology? So all of these fields are critical for the advancement of planetary health. So as a physician, I always say, I now have two patients. On one hand, you have that kid wearing a face mask, trying to protect herself from the unseen coronavirus. But on the other hand, you have Mother Earth also wearing a face mask, of course, not to be protected from COVID, but to be safeguarded from the myriad ecological damages that we are inflicting on her. Again, the anthropogenic changes because of our activities. And so planetary health, again, we have two patients, people and planet. And I already alluded to this already a while ago, because planetary health requires addressing almost everything about the planet and human existence. We need to be working or addressing concerns related to the abiotic factors of the planet, soil, water, air, again, all life forms as well, and the social systems that drive planetary health change, the way we design our cities, the way we produce our food, the nature of our politics, the configuration of our economies. And so it's also an opportunity for us in the life sciences to work closely with the social sciences. So I wonder, can I have a show of hands who are from the social sciences here in the room? Of course, Prof. Abdullah, and I am seeing more hands, hopefully more to come. And, you know, it is also a call for us, especially in the health sector, to go beyond our comfort zone. I just want to quote Anthony McMichael, one of the pioneers of climate and health. He said in the 1990s, so before planetary health was even coined as a term, the health sector must lift its gaze to bigger ecological horizons. This will require a radical extension of the public health agenda, and I think that radical extension is what we now call planetary health, new forms of professional training in environmental health and all other fields, a preparedness to base policy advice upon predictions and best guesses as opposed to purely empirical data. Many planetary health challenges cannot be subjected to a randomized control trial. So it's an invitation for us to be very innovative, creative, out of the box when we conduct research in order to investigate these challenges, and an ability to collaborate with unfamiliar disciplines such as climatology and ecology. So whenever I talk to my medical students in the Philippines and elsewhere, I always tell them, by the time you graduate, you should have at least 5 friends who are not doctors. You should have a friend who's a philosopher, an economist, an ecologist, and a social scientist, because again, planetary health requires transdisciplinary collaboration. But also we need to remember, planetary health may sound like a new term, but the idea that the health of the people and the health of the planet are inextricably intertwined, it's not a novel invention. We need to start listening to indigenous communities and going back to ancient wisdom. Again, because the health of people and the health of the planet, for them, it's inseparable, and they have the solution. So I invite you to some of these articles, for instance, by a colleague of mine, Professor Nicole Redvers from the University of North Dakota, where she gathered indigenous leaders from around the world to come up with an indigenous vision for planetary health. We can do that also here in Southeast Asia, home to many indigenous cultures here in the world. And, just to quote Chief Seattle, the earth does not belong to man. Man belongs to earth. Man did not weave the web of life. He is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. Again, the planetary health message, what we do to the earth, it just comes back to us in the form of human health impacts. And this is an invitation for us to, talk about what can be the contributions of Asian cultures, Asian philosophy, Asian traditions to the enrichment of this growing planetary health knowledge. I just want to share this article that I collaborated with, along with Tanshri, Dr. Jamila, and other emerging Muslim planetary health advocates from around the world. We published it in the Lancet, and I hope that now that is part of the planetary health family, we can advance, Muslim or Islamic perspectives on planetary health, Buddhist perspectives, Hindu perspectives, Asian perspectives, because planetary health is an invitation for us to bring all these perspectives to our understanding of the world. Perspectives that for the longest time have been put in the margins. Let's be honest about it. And so this is now our time to really contribute and enrich the body of knowledge. And planetary health is also what has been described as the grand convergence. I'm sure some people here may be familiar with the terms that you can see in this diagram: public health, global health, tropical medicine, international health, One Health, eco-health. There's so many health, and it's quite confusing sometimes. We know that these terms have their disciplinary evolutions, right? They came from a certain field or a certain discipline, but now what we're seeing, we're all talking about the same elephant. We're just looking at it through different lenses. We're talking about improving the health of both people and planet, and that is now what we call planetary health. So again, congratulations, and you're now part of PHA. This is a photo from our first ever conference in 2017 at Harvard. I was privileged to be a doctoral student when this new field was growing, and Harvard actually became the headquarters of the Planetary Health Alliance. In fact, I was involved in mobilizing doctoral students and young people during the time to be an active component of this alliance. And then fast forward, several organizations in the Philippines, I managed to recruit to PHA, and of course the Sunway Center for Planetary Health, I believe is the first Malaysian member of the PHA. And in fact, the Sunway Center was appointed by PHA to be the Southeast Asia hub. So we will be connecting with Professor Abdullah very soon, because we're going to organize a convening, a virtual one, where we will gather all Southeast Asian members before we go to Boston in November. So I hope will also be represented at the 5th conference in Boston in November of the Planetary Health Alliance. We will have a Sunway delegation there. Hopefully will have as well. So this is the invitation. You can go visit the website. It's on October 31 to November 2. And the hope is that in the near future, the next conference will be here in Asia, if not in Malaysia. So stay tuned, and we'll be happy to talk to about potentially collaborating and bringing it to Malaysia. It will be the first time in the history of the PHA. And so, I understand that University Malaya is now in this journey of establishing its planetary health initiative, and also potentially more course offerings in the future. So I would like just to share some of the frameworks that may be helpful as you develop your curricula. These are frameworks that have been helpful to us at the Sunway Center. So for example, there is what you call the Canmore Declaration on Planetary Health Principles for the 21st Century. I will not go into the details, but you can see there are some principles that have been proposed to underpin planetary health education and research and advocacy. For example, I just want to highlight countering elitism. And we know that academia has a long history of elitism. And so how can we be a humbler community, working with other sectors and disciplines, working with communities, especially indigenous communities? That is a challenge for us in the planetary health community. For the doctors in the room, I'm sure you're very familiar with the Hippocratic Oath, which we all recite before we enter medical practice. And in that oath, we say we do no harm to patients. What we did, we are in an international group, what we did in 2020 is we reimagined the Hippocratic Oath into a planetary health pledge for all professionals. We should do no harm, not just to the human patient, but also to the planetary patient. And so I invite everybody to take a look at this Planetary Health Pledge, published also in the Lancet. And at the Sunway Center and at the Sunway University, we're now starting to actually make the students even recite, this Planetary Health Pledge. We actually tweaked it a bit into a Sunway Planetary Health Pledge. So we can also make a version and a version for many other universities, again, recommitting to both people and planet. You may have encountered this other publication in the Lancet, Cross-Cutting Principles of Planetary Health Education. And some of the contents here also resonate with what has been included in the Canmore Declaration. So for example, sense of urgency. We have deadlines. The climate deadline is 2030, which was articulated in the Paris Agreement. How are we educating the next generation, or even our own generation, to work not just now, but work fast because of these deadlines? Or, for example, systems thinking. Is it already an integral part of education? And I'm very concerned that as we become more overly specialized, we tend to educate the next generation that are siloed in thinking, rather systems thinkers. So we need to start putting systems thinking at the core, because planetary health is really about transforming and rejuvenating our declining systems. So I'll not go into the details, but I invite you to take a look also at this document. And then much more recently, the Planetary Health Alliance also came up with a planetary health education framework. And as you can see there, some of the things that I mentioned already a while ago are already here. But ultimately, at the very heart of this framework is reviving, restoring this interconnection within nature. Because us human beings have been so disconnected from Mother Earth because of urbanization, because of quote-unquote modern lifestyles. So how can we bring our next generation and ourselves much closer to the planet through education, through academia, through the University Malaya? That is our grand challenge in planetary health these days. There's so many references and knowledge materials that have arisen in the past years on pertaining to planetary health. We have a journal in the Lancet where I am privileged to be part of the advisory board. We have now not just one, but two or three textbooks on planetary health. But all the textbooks are written by colleagues and friends from North America and Europe. Can we imagine a planetary health textbook written by Southeast Asians? Can we imagine a journal on planetary health challenges focusing on Southeast Asia? We at the Sunway Center are now thinking along those lines, and we would love to work with University Malaya and other universities in Malaysia and Southeast Asia to really come up with our own platforms for sharing our knowledge, which is so rich, yet so unheard and invisible. We encourage the students. I wonder if there are students in the room who are also excited about planetary health. As I mentioned a while ago, when I was at Harvard, we established a planetary health club for Harvard students from different disciplines. Every university should have a student-led planetary health club. There may be activities that are led by the faculty and the administration, but from the student side, they should be given the space and the impetus to also have their own activities. And at the Sunway Center, we have some organizations, student organizations that are already starting to conduct some activities. And also we're partnering with them as well. So we actually came up with a guide on how to build a planetary health club. That's also accessible in the website of the Planetary Health Alliance. So I already alluded to this phenomenon that many of the current planetary health initiatives, new programs, new centers, new institutes, they are established by institutions of higher learning in North America and in Europe, as you can see in the logos in this slide. Many of them, prominent universities. And in the past, I guess, 2 years alone, there have been several programs, educational programs, that have already been developed and launched. The University of Catalonia and East Global in Barcelona launched the first master's degree in planetary health. Victoria University in Australia, which is a partner of Sunway University, has a graduate certificate. There are other institutions that are offering bachelor's programs, advanced certificates. Stanford and the London School have jointly established a postdoctoral fellowship in planetary health. Now is the era for us in Southeast Asia to also start thinking, how can we innovate and build our own educational offerings that are global and universal in scope, but also Asian, perhaps in flavor and in focus. And that's why Tanshi, Dr. Jamila, and I joined our forces to bring planetary health to Southeast Asia, to Malaysia, and to establish the Sunway Center for Planetary Health. We're very grateful also to Tanshi Jeffrey Cha for believing in this idea. Just a very short, anecdote, and I know I might be exceeding my 10 minutes, but I have a few more slides remaining. Tanshi Jamila and I met in person for the first and the only time in Geneva, Switzerland in 2019. We had dinner, and after 2 hours, we came up with the idea of establishing a Center for Planetary Health in Southeast Asia. During that time, 2019, before the pandemic, we didn't know where it will be based. We didn't know who will be believing in us. Fast forward 2021, last year, we launched a Sunway Center. And as we speak, we're actually celebrating our first year anniversary, and we hope that we will have more anniversaries to come. So that is the story, just one conversation. We've never met in person since then. And we've created the Sunway Center during the pandemic over Zoom, while Tan Sri is a special advisor to the Malaysian Prime Minister, and I was in the Philippines also doing my COVID work, among others. And so the vision of the Sunway Center is to recast the partnership between people and planet so that both can thrive. It's not just the people alone, it's not just the planet, it's both. And not just the Sunway Center, but the entire university made a commitment to the SDGs, as you're already very aware. Sunway is home to the Sustainable Development Network Asia, but also to Planetary Health. And now it's already embedded in a research strategy. All the schools of Sunway are encouraged to incorporate Planetary Health into their teaching and into their research activities. At the Sunway Center, we have divided our work into knowledge and learning, that's our education and research offerings, and engagement and influence. We always see ourselves as not just a think tank, but a think and do tank. And so we work closely with the Malaysian government, with the World Health Organization, with UNESCAP and other institutions, both domestically and internationally, because we believe, again, we have timelines that we need to catch up with. We believe that we need to translate the knowledge immediately by engaging with civil society, with policymakers, so on and so forth. So some of the things or the innovations that we've started during our first year, we incorporated Planetary Health into the MPU course on community service. And our goal is that, in the next few years, every Sunway student will be taking a community service for Planetary Health regardless of their profession and discipline. You can be an accountant, you can be a chef at our culinary school, you can be in the tourism school, but you will all be taking a core Planetary Health experiential course. That is the idea of this MPU. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the MPU, which is a requirement here in Malaysia. We already started exploring PhD studentships, focusing on the center's priority themes: preventing the next pandemic, tackling the climate emergency, achieving sustainable food systems, creating healthy cities, and we identified some meta themes like governance, communication, and education. And actually, very soon, we will be welcoming our first ever PhD student who will be focusing on the nexus of business and Planetary Health. So Planetary Health is really an invitation for us to be very creative in the kinds of research topics that we will be pursuing for PhD and postdoctoral fellows. And of course, as I mentioned a while ago, we've been reaching out to the media, to the public discourse, to civil society, to the UN agencies, in order to spread, not COVID, but the virus of Planetary Health to the world. And we invite you to take a look at this commentary that we published at the Lancet Planetary Health, where we introduce the Sunway Center to the world. And so that can also be done by but we can also co-write something in the future to also promote the emerging Planetary Health community in Malaysia and Southeast Asia to the world. So to wrap up, I am reminded by this quote by the great Indian novelist Arundhati Roy: "The pandemic is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next." And every time we go to a new place, we have to search for the destination, we enter a new door, we need a compass. But of course, in the 21st century, no one uses a compass anymore. We use a Google map. So what is a Google map of the future? And we believe at the Sunway Center that Google map is Planetary Health. It's the Google map towards a green, healthy, and just post-COVID recovery. We need to make sure that in our recovery process, we don't go back to the old normal, which, by the way, is abnormal. We need to go to a truly new normal that is green, healthy, and just. Planetary Health is also an invitation for us to embrace planetary humility. It invites us to shift away from this ego-logical perspective. Oh, we are at the top of the pyramid of nature. We can kill, extract, mine, consume, pollute. But instead, we need to shift towards a truly ecological approach where we live in harmony, in solidarity, in greater interdependence with all creatures great and small, and all the other components of planet Earth, our only home. And finally, You know, we're talking about education. We're talking about preparing the next generation of planetary health citizens, stewards, and leaders. And I think Planetary Health is also an invitation for us to become good ancestors, another fantastic book. And it means that we need to start embracing intergenerational equity and responsibility. We're not just doing it for ourselves, but for the future generations. What we want, and I remember a while ago, I can remember, I think it was Professor Nick who mentioned about the past century, right? And the current century. We also need to think about the future century. And what we want is in 2122, which is 100 years from now, the children of 2122 will read the history books, will look back to the past, and they will say that the COVID and climate generation of 2022, which is all of us in this room, have been good ancestors to them because we made the right decisions, not just for our own health, but also for their health and well-being as well. The community and the Malaysian community, we're not selfish ancestors. We are good ancestors to these children and to the future children of Malaysia and the world who are yet to come. So together, let's advance the health of people and planet. Thank you very much, and congratulations again to UM.
Thank you so much, Dr. Renzo. And congratulations to Sunway University for being the first in Malaysia to come on board for the Planetary Health Alliance and so on. I don't think we could have a more excellent start on that. And that's why even though he's superseded the 10 minutes, there's so much that we have learned from him in just more than 10 minutes on the way forward. I think everybody will agree with that. So going back to the session for today, I would like to call on Puan Hazami, being the think tank of Malaysia, to deliver her 10 minutes presentation on what is Malaysia's strategic idea, being the thought leader of planetary health in going forward. A little bit about Puan Hazami. Can we have the slide on? Yeah. Puan Hazami is currently serving as the CEO of the Academy of Sciences Malaysia. For those who are not so familiar, ASM is a think tank body focusing on science, technology, and innovation, policy, and strategy projects. And Puan Hazami leads the management very ably of the academy that comprised more than 700 STI, science, technology, innovation experts in Malaysia. She has done so much for ASM, and she is so, always there to be able to adapt to on the ground, off the ground, and so on. And I thank you very much for standing in to Dr. Nagu last minute, and that shows really Puan Hazami is always ready to deliver a lot of things. And with that, may I invite Puan Hazami to give a 10 minutes presentation. Good hand for Puan Hazami.
I like to walk around, so rostrum is not friendly to me. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. First of all, saya nak sampaikan salam from Dr. Nagu. He is in MAPA now. I hope ada good news. I don't know what is the good news. Okay, so I will be tabling presentation from the perspective of a think tank under the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovations. How academy and MOSTI work together in setting up the ecosystem of planetary health, and what do we have. And this is, we have presented this to the National Science Council in June, and it's already approved by National Science Council and Cabinet for academy to come up with a planetary health action plan. This is a national planetary health action plan that we want to do until 2040. So now we are in the midst of framing up bringing in all the players, and for sure, Sunway Planetary Health is one of the player. Now also can be one of the player, and we want to bring more and more players in Malaysia. As what you heard from Dr. Renzo, he's giving the global perspective of planetary health. How do we chart our national perspective and the ecosystem of planetary health in Malaysia? So when we presented this to the Cabinet and also to the National Science Council, we want to answer these three questions. What is planetary health and why it is important to Malaysia? You know, when you want to present things to the policymakers, especially in the government, you need to give as much evidence that they can understand. That is the challenge. So we throw out these three questions to them. What is planetary health and why it is important to Malaysia? Does Malaysia have an integrated framework to address planetary health? And does Malaysia have enablers to ensure planetary health? Do we have this? So government said, yeah, we have this, that. Okay, fine. Is it in order? Is it in the ecosystem? Is it connected? Or everybody is working in silo? So these are things that we are trying to address when we present this to the National Science Council. So when we put up the planetary health concept, it's based on the understanding that human health and human civilization deepen to rapidly evolving natural system and the wise stewardship of those systems. The ego and the eco, that what Dr. You see, you need to have wise stewardship. Who makes the policy? Who makes the decision of all the big projects in Malaysia? How do they evaluate it? Borneo Highway, name it. Underground tunnel in Penang, name it. Whatever they want to do they think about all this impact? So these are the parameters that we have developed, and we will keep on developing this and monitoring this for us to design a monitoring system for us to know where we are. And before we do something, we can do a simulation for us to understand the impact. Then only we can do a wise decision based on evidence and data. Right? Then we show to the Cabinet the global emerging disease hotspots, and Malaysia really in that hotspots. See, countries rich in biodiversity create high potential for disease to spill from wildlife population. It's good to have this COVID, also easy to make them understand. I don't like the pandemic, but it's easier to make them understand. Right? Then we said increase in biodiversity disruption will contribute to the increase in zoonosis-related diseases. So in the academy, we form a special interest group. We ask Prof. Herbejo to lead on the zoonosis. So we come up with one paper. Then we have another group led by Prof. Rosna. She is looking into COVID-19. Then we have another group, Prof. Helen Nair, looking into biodiversity. Then we have another group looking out 30 years what we have done in Malaysia from 1990 to 2020 under Vision 2020, where our moderator also one of the sub-chair of the Science Outlook. We combine all these four papers, come up with one paper called Planetary Health to put up the case to government the importance of planetary health. So we show this. The increase, and Malaysia is one of the zoonosis hotspot. What do we know what we have in our biodiversity? Do we have all the things? We don't know. When we ask, there are pockets here and there. How to connect that? Yeah? So these are questions. Then we also show the transmission factors of infectious disease rising due to climate change. One of the theory during the early stage of COVID, they said COVID come from pangolin. In the world, only 2 experts that knows about pangolin. One in Thailand, one in Malaysia. Suddenly, this professor from University Malaysia Terengganu so popular about pangolin. Nobody wants to know before this. Right? So these are things that you see when we are facing problems, facing challenges, then we will find solutions. But we need to change that template and to be ready and create the right path for us not to react upon. So these are things that we are putting up to the government. Then We show the data of newly emerging, re-emerging, deliberately emerging infectious disease from 1981. 60% of all known infectious disease in humans are zoonotic origin. Zoonotic diseases make up 75% of all emerging infectious disease. Mitigation measures through the integrated framework between humans, animals, and environment are necessary to address the spread of infectious disease and improve national health security. As you can see, all the trends is globally. And we show this to them just to open up their mind. This is real. This is not something that we create. You trace back from 1981, you can see the trends. So this is how we present it to the policymakers. And this is coming from the Science Outlook. When we do 30 years of evaluation of Malaysia, where we are now, this is where we are now. As you can see here, year 2000 until 2019, the data that we have, the only thing that we can say we have progressed is economic impact. Whatever that we gain in 1990 until 2019 or 2020, our income gained 12 times. That's good, right? But we still haven't got developed country status. But if you see environmental impact, where we are now from year 2000 until 2019, it has decreased a lot. Where are we in societal impact, in quality of living? From 2000 to 2000, it was decreased a lot. And where are we in STI ecosystem? From 2000, we have increased a lot, but stagnant from 2010 to 2019. Something is not translating in the STI ecosystem to enhance our economic impact, our environmental impact, and societal impact. So we have to change this, because if the knowledge is not being translated to the three most important pillars in our life, then there is no planetary health. Next, we show the preliminary estimates of Malaysian environment-related costs. How we spend our money. Over the last 24 years, Malaysia have cumulatively lost an estimate of 7.8 billion to environment-related disasters. You remember all the floods? One rumah dapat 10 tilam. Orangnya ada seorang je. Something wrong with the distribution. Right? An estimate of 947.2 billion to welfare costs of environment-related premature death. That is an average loss of 39.8 billion per year due to environment-related causes. And this cost is equivalent to about 3% of GDP loss in 2019 to 2020. With policymakers, show them the money, then only they wake up. They see the loss. But that is the only tangible thing that they can count. Other thing is like the one that the societal impact, the environmental impact, we have to put it in the economic impact. Then only the policymakers will see it. If not, masuk telinga kanan, keluar telinga kiri, nothing change. Right? Then we also shows the economic shocks of disease emergence in rising. And you see when SARS came in, how it impact the world. H1N1 flu, Ebola, H5N1 avian, MRSA, and the latest one and the biggest impact is COVID-19. So when we share all this, do we have the enablers to address planetary health? This is non-exhaustive. This is just within what academies is doing as a think tank. But we have more. is doing, Sunway is doing, everybody is doing it. Strategic direction and national policies and plan, we have a lot. This is just to show some. The latest one is Rancangan Malaysia ke-12, 12 Malaysia Plan. They want to have a country, prosperous, inclusive, sustainable Malaysia. That is a theme of our MK12. We have all world-class policy. Yesterday, they just launched ISES, Empowering Energy Transition, the energy policy, yesterday by PM. All this policy and many, many more policies, we have counted at the Academy, we have 300 over policies. Okay, we have that. Then, what is the global platform that government have, that we have accepted as our policy? SDG, yes. Civil society organization, ASEAN, APEC, regional platform, we have all this platform at regional level. I just presented on planetary health at a recent APEC meeting in Bangkok. So these are things that we need to work together at regional level for us to move this agenda, and Malaysia do something internally, build inside, deployed outside policy for us to do this. Then what are the research and talent development that we have? Sunway University have all the programs on planetary health. is starting it. Other universities, not to have in schools, not to have a new subject matter, but to build in the philosophy, the values in the subjects. Be it in BM, be it in BI, be it in religions, but you need to instill that values and the principles. That's how we, what we call it, make it as a pillar in all education things that we are learning. Then, what are the technologies? Under Academy, we come up with the 10-10 mastery. These are the technology cross-cutting to all subjects, to all science subjects that we need to enhance. Be it in biology, physics, chemistry, or whatever, you need all these 10 emerging technology to enhance it and to bring it to another level. Then, this is the communication, education, and public awareness. What we need to do, the spirituality, humanity aspect. This is why Academy want to work with the Center of, led by Prof. Azizan, to come up with the, what are the humanity aspects, the ethics and the values that need to be embedded in each of the talents that we want to develop. Then only we have the leadership, the kind of leadership that understand what is planetary health. If not, we still use the old template under the new landscape, it does not work. Right? And what are the cross-cutting knowledge? These are all papers by a small think tank like Academy. Yes, we have 888, but all of them are spread in their own organization. How do we connect them? Come up, make it a cross-cutting statement and put up all these things to the government for them to understand the big picture of planetary health that we want to build in the ecosystem of our country. So this is the ecosystem model that we propose to the government under 1010. We call it ecosystem model 8I planetary health. These are things that we need to develop and also do the gap analysis. Where are the gaps? Do we have enough infrastructure? Do we have enough infrastructure, intellectual capital, that is talent, integrity, incentive, institutions, interaction, and internationalization. This is the 8I ecosystem that we want to develop. In every cluster, maybe in vaccine cluster, halal cluster, name it, but you need to have this ecosystem. So we come up with this 1010 MySTE framework. It is already accepted under RMK 12 after 3 years of putting it up, on, off with EPU until they accept it as one of the game changer under RMK 12. Why do we need this? This is the 10 technology that we have identified. We want to transform 10 socio-economic sectors in Malaysia under RMK 12 and RMK 13. And we want to put everything with the planetary health ecosystem. Whatever we want to do, using any of the technology to enhance any of the socio-economic, we have to ensure it has the planetary health principles. What is 1010? People always see 1010 only this matrix. No. 1010 is this. 1010 show you what are the technology and what we want to read for us to be more focused. And then 1010 said, what are the priorities? I'll share with you after this, what are the priorities that we want to focus under RMK 12. Then 1010 said, you have to systemize under the 8I ecosystem just now. We need to create this ecosystem. Then, we cannot work in silos. 79.2% of our researchers is in Institute of Higher Learning in Malaysia. We're unique.
We are not like Thailand. Thailand, 60% of their researchers is in business enterprise. Ours in business enterprise is only 15%. 5% come from research institute. With this kind of landscape, how do we work? All the knowledge is at the university. How to translate it to go to the society and to the economy? You need to collaborate. Okay, then we need to be more inclusive. We have to know what each state needs. There is no one size fits all. You have to understand the indigenous needs. What Sarawak needs, what Sabah needs, is not same what Perlis needs or Johor needs. Even though we are in one nation, there are gaps and differences that we need to be more inclusive and to make sure it is future-proof. Anything you want to use public money, we have to make sure it's future-proof. Be it whatever technology that we want to develop towards monitoring. Now we are going to 5G, but we still do research for 3G and 4G, something wrong. Correct? So these are things that we guide under 1010 for us to have more focused, prioritized, systemized, collaborate, inclusive, and future-proof kind of projects, initiative, research projects that we want to do towards to have a better life of upgrading the three pillars, the environment, the society, and the economy. So these are the 30 niche area that we have. When we presented this to cabinet, they said, wow, too many. I said, because we want to develop 10 socio-economic sector. And each at average is 3. As you can see, from energy until environment and biodiversity, all this cross-cutting, all related to planetary health. You name it, what is it? Food security, precision biodiversity, innovative eco-products from waste, precision medicine, digitalized tourism, high-value tourism, fintech, all these are related to planetary health. So these are the niche area that we say to the government, if they want to do something like this and they have multiplier effect, whatever in digital health can be implemented also at environment, biodiversity or education or culture, then it's worth for government to fund it under public money. That's how we want to see a multiplier effect of these projects or initiative towards other socio-economic to show maximum impact that we want to achieve. And we classified of that 30 niche area and we show it is balanced between economy, dual impact, both economy and societal well-being. We don't want to repeat the 30 years mistake that we have done under Vision 2020. We are too focused to become developed country. We forgot our environment and quality of life. Right? So these are the innovation helix. So I hope in also can use 1010 and create this innovation helix. Be it in IAC or any school, faculties. When you want to do your project, when you want to bid for government fund, use this in your planning to ensure that they can see clearly the multiplier impact, what you want to achieve is more systemized and more focused. Then, these are the collaborative platform that we need to develop. Be it in planetary health, be it in whatever areas that we want to develop. We need to bring connectors. Academy is a connector. I'm not an academic. I read all surveys. I'm relying on the 888 fellows and all the experts to give their wisdom, their analysis. But we connect. How do we position our agenda to bring it to the mainstream of the policy? So, in university, you have connectors. RMC is your connector with industry, right? And others, centers of excellence. So, bring your connector. Then, bring in your producer and manufacturer together in the collaborative platform. Technology providers, financing providers, standard setters and regulators, supply chain and logistic provider, market access provider, and capacity builders. So, like you can play your role here, capacity builders. You can play your role as a connectors. You can play your role as technology providers. You even can play your role on supply chain and logistic providers. So, you can play multiple roles in different clusters and ecosystem. Okay? How to be inclusive? We map out from Northern Corridor until Sarawak.
We want to know what is their plan, what they want to do. This is how university can customize your research based on the needs of the corridors. We have to get out and try to solve problem, not wait. So these are the things that we have mapped out. You can take this map and we will update it from time to time. We get more information from MIDA, we update it. This is northern, southern corridor, east coast corridor, central region, Sarawak. Sarawak, I just presented this as Sarawak. So we have mapped it and then we have put it together with the 30 niche area that we have identified. Then, with the 10-10, we come up with the 8 nature-centric philosophy. This is where we need to come up with the values, the ethics, to have a leader, a researcher, a university vice-chancellor, deputy vice-chancellor, all at all level to have this 8 nature-centric philosophy. They have this nature of respect, rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle, replant, repurpose, and revitalize. How to get this kind of people embed these traits in us? This is where university have to play the role, school have to play the role. What kind of values that we need to embed in order for them, when they want to do any projects, they have this at the back of their mind and they're guided in whatever decision, be it if they are a KSU in the ministry, be it if they are a director in the center, be it they are a teacher, a mother, a father. These are things that we need to embed. Because today's, we cannot do research outcomes anymore. We need to do research based on innovation must focus on solving problems. Innovation policies are focused on outcome, is not impactful. We have to change our mindset to have this solving problems mindset. Then only we can do, as a small country like us, anchor of the researcher is at Institute of Higher Learning. You need to have a mission-oriented innovation using public money that really shows impact. Then we come up together with the grand challenges. They can use the 30 niche area as the grand challenges. It's already accepted as the Malaysian grand challenges. So we hope through science, technology, innovation-led solution for Malaysia through 10-10 MSTI, we have more projects that are people-centric. That is the philosophy of planetary health. Then nature-based and values-driven. These are 3 things that we need to embed in everything that we do. Be it policy, be it education, be it how we raise our family, all. It has a whole society approach. Then only this planetary health will work. We don't want to have nice policy, world-class policy, world-class idea. When it comes to implementation, we kaput. I met the Chief Technologist Officer of Estonia in 2018 in Sri Lanka. Estonia is the only country in the world 100% e-government. So, population 1.3 million. So, I asked the CTO, 29 years old, a lady, where did you learn? Where did you get the idea to have a fully e-government for Estonia? Then she said, from Multimedia Super Corridor, Malaysia. See, we have world-class idea. They follow through. So we don't want that. We have to have a whole society and government approach for us to do this. So I hope this sharing session gives you some insights of what Academy is doing with the Ministry of Science. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Puan Hazami. Memang 10 upon 10. You know, she is the top-notch national connector as ASM, and we are really thankful for the insightful things that she has shared with us today. Now, there's 2 things more left before we go for the general discussion. She was mentioning about nature-based and then ethics. And then the ethics lady is already waiting. But I will invite first from industry, Ms. Shirley. to come on board. So, and I think you're talking something about nature as well, and that will be answering some of the things that we would like to listen to. I hope you're putting on the hat, not only from Novozymes, but from industry as well. So Miss Shirley actually graduated from University of Malaya. So we have our own alumnus here with a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemistry and later a Master of Arts degree in International Trade with focus on ASEAN. She has worked for 10 years in Surim as a Senior Standards Executive and she was also the first Southeast Asian appointed as the Secretary of the International ISO Tech Committee. So she can share us a lot on terms of legislation, standardization, and so on. So may I call upon Ms. Shirley to share the stage with us?
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Very good morning to all of y'all, and Salam Sejahtera. I would like to thank the Institute for Advanced Studies for inviting us, and really appreciate for being given the opportunity to share some of our thoughts, views on how we can contribute to planetary health. So when I was approached with this topic, I asked myself, where do we begin? Okay. So where do I begin? We have to start somewhere, right? Now, if you look at the last 2.5 years, COVID has taught us a lot of lessons in life. It was a painful experience for a lot of people. We had a lot of people losing friends, family. We had socio-economic disruption. We have environmental disruption. It affected all of us and it made us think. And when you look at us human beings, okay, when we talk about planetary health and we talk about what has happened from the COVID pandemic, COVID has taught us that our health is very important. We as human beings want to live healthily. We worry about our well-being. And for us to live healthily and for us to take care of our well-being, we need to live in a healthy environment. A healthy environment will definitely give us a healthy life as well. So this again goes back to the concept of our previous speakers where they were all talking about planetary health. And my focus here is like, let's start from somewhere. And this is where I think we should start from us. We should start looking into what is our contribution, regardless of which category or which area we're coming from. We have the academicians here providing the science to the discussions. We have our policymakers telling us what are the essentials that we need to put in place to make sure that we can contribute to a healthy planet. And here, we are all the players. We are the ones who should do it. Sometimes when we talk about, we have to do all this, do we have the will to do it? Do we want to do it? Yes, we do. Now, I represent Novozymes, and Novozymes is a leading biotechnology company, and what we do is we do the industrial production of enzymes. When you look at what planet Earth provides us, it provides us with a lot of free services, which of course, in the end, it's at the cost for the planet itself. We use all the services that we get freely from the planet, but how are we giving back? Sometimes we forget. And when you look at what Planet Health gives, apart from giving us this free service, it also provides solutions for itself to recalibrate itself, to restore itself for its own sustainability. And it goes unseen sometimes because some of this nature's problem solvers that I'm going to talk about today is bacteria and fungi. These are really very small. We sometimes don't look at it. But with research and development, we were able to come up with all these industrial production enzymes. And what do we do with these enzymes? These are the biological solutions for better lives. So instead of using chemicals and chemicals for our industrial production, these enzymes, which are biological solutions, will be one of the solutions that we need to look into to maintain our planetary health. So these enzymes and microorganisms in place of chemicals, if used in processing and manufacturing, can actually contribute to a lot of, we can have a lot of energy we can have, like, say for instance, when you talk about the laundry, okay, we are talking about laundry. All of us like very clean clothes. We use a lot of detergent. It's really very nice when you come out and your clothes smell good. But these chemicals that we are using are fossil-derived chemicals, and they contribute to the carbon footprint. So by using these enzymes, bio-based solutions or biological solutions, we can have cleaner clothes, yes, but with less consumption of energy. We can have better nutrition and less food waste. We can also have green fuel, not so much of dependence on fossil fuel, and also high yields, so that we have also better food security issues are also managed. So these are some of the things that we need to consider when we look into how are we going to look into planet health. And enzymes are not new. We've had a 5,000-year love affair with enzymes. When cheese was first discovered, that's when we started. But after a while, with science and technology, we're focusing on a lot of innovation and technological development, that the enzymes became less important. But this could be a solution that we can use in the future, and to actually contribute to this planetary health discussion that we're having today. So we have come up with some of the facts that we've done with our research. Now, biotechnology is really very powerful if you use it rightly, and if it is underpinned with sustainability and planetary health as your foundation, then your research and development will go into a direction where it will contribute to planetary health. Say, for example, if 10% of the world's animal protein is replaced with alternative proteins using biotechnology, we'll be able to save 900,000 kilometers of agricultural land. And then when we look at this bio-based detergents, so if we opt for bio-based detergents instead of these chemical detergents, we will be avoiding 5 million tons of fossil-based chemicals being released into the environment. So this is how this transition can happen. But of course, there's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of research and development, and there should be a lot of acceptance from the people who are also being exposed to this technology. So even for the fuels, if you have like 3% of all liquid transportation are bio-based, we shift into that, just 3%, we will save 300 million tons of carbon dioxide would be avoided. So the gains that we are getting with this biological solutions are really very huge. But again, these are solutions that are put in place, industrial innovations based on science, but how much are the policymakers going to look into this? Like what our earlier speaker was saying, maybe we should put the dollars and cents in future instead of this. Kilometer squares and million tons will change for the next presentation. We put that in figures, and I think that will really be very important, because again, this is something that different people will have a different interpretation of it. So even same goes for chemicals and chemical pesticides, just 10%. We just convert 10%, replace 10% with biologicals, and we would be saving 250 million tons of chemicals from entering into this system. So in Novozymes, what we've done, I will quickly go through some of the initiatives that we've done on how we are contributing to the planetary health. It's a very long journey. We've put in a lot of effort. We have lots of scientists working on it, but we also would like to work hand in hand with the academicians, with the policymakers, as well as consumers, so that we can contribute to the shared vision for planetary health. So we aim to reach more than 4 billion people with our laundry solutions, biological solutions, and this is to prevent the chemicals from going into the environment, and at the same time to protect our resources. So if you look at what we have for the detergents, we have surfactants, polymers, and solvents. Many years ago when I did chemistry, surfactants and all were very interesting to me. Chemistry was really very interesting. And now I come back to the university to tell them biological solutions are the way. But this is how much time has changed, and we have learned that science and technology's contribution to this. And if you look at Gen X, I think Gen X is one generation that has a very tough responsibility. It is a generation which faced the consequences of the war, the previous wars. They went through an era of development, and now we are bombarded with a responsibility to give a safe future for the next generation. So I think there's a lot of things that has been put in. And if you look at what we have here, if you switch to a bio-based detergent, what will happen is we're going to actually contribute to the lowering of emissions, yeah, from our laundry. from our laundry itself, we can actually reduce from up to 46% of detergent of carbon footprint. And when you talk about this bio-based detergents, these are actually equal, or in fact even perform better than this chemical laundries, chemical detergents. And by using these biological solutions, you can actually wash at a lower temperature. So you also save energy. So the gains that we get from this is really very beneficial, not only for us, but for the environment, and as well as for the planet. And the next one that we're looking into is also about the transport sector. We aim to save 60 million tons of carbon emissions by enabling production of bio-based low carbon fuels. Now, if you look at fuels, we are looking about energy. We are always using fossil fuels most of the time. And you look at some of the countries, they already have energy crises and they are dependent on other countries for supply of energy. Do you know that everything can be produced, can be used to produce a biodiesel, almost everything that nature provides. So this is where I was saying that nature provides us free services. Why don't we give it back to Earth in a way that it will also continue the sustainability of our Earth? Like what we said earlier, this is the only habitable planet. We have to take care of it, yeah? So, so by transferring from fossil fuel to biofuels, we are making sure that we address all our current concerns on energy, and at the same time, we are also protecting the planet. And the third one is the production of 500,000 tons of additional food security. This is very important. And biological solutions can actually contribute from farm to fork, right from the crops in the field. Using biological solutions instead of chemical pesticides, you can increase your yield, you can make sure that you save land, you have better crops, you have animal health is also safeguarded. And then you go into the raw material. The next stage is the production of food. And this is where, and the next step is finally into the cooking the food and all that. So the whole from farm to fork can be actually addressed with biological solutions. And so we have all the solutions. Nature has provided all the solutions. Maybe it's time for us to start looking at the planet itself as we talk about planetary health and see how we can use these resources in a manner that we also give it back, and at the same time we can make sure that we have our human well-being and health is also safeguarded. Now, so one of the things that we do in our company is we are looking into biological solutions for better lives. And we talk about better lives, it's not, we are talking about giving to the consumers, but who are the consumers? It's us. It's us, our family, our friends, and everyone. So this is where I think all of us have to take all these things, like it goes back to us whether we want to do it or not. Now, I would like to introduce you to the Petersons. Petersons are a family in the States, California. And they're a normal family, ordinary family, just like any one of us. They eat, they cook, they have pets. But these biological solutions can be used in every aspect of their day-to-day lives. And thus, whatever contribution they are doing to the environment, detrimental contribution can be avoided, and it can be on a positive level. So you have your laundry detergents, you have your household care product, you have your food and beverage, you have animal health, they have a pet, they will use pet food used with these biological solutions. And then you have their paper towels, so in the paper and pulp production. In fact, even when he's using steering wheel, he's got a leather steering wheel, leather technology also. So biological solutions can be used in a wide range of industrial sectors. So maybe that is something that we can think about. And the parents, this is a family, this is also an ordinary family. They live in China. And it is not just about biological solutions reaching only certain parts of the world. It can be anywhere. It can be in Southeast Asia as well. But we need the buy-in as well. So this is something that I think that looking at the discussions today, I'm really very happy that we've been invited, because we would like to work together with the academicians, policymakers, to see that how we can also be part of that 10-10 and all these programs where we have to work together on it. Because it's just not about the policies, it's just not about the science, but at the end of the day, it goes back to the question I asked earlier, where do we begin? We begin from us. And for all of us gathered here today, we are here because we have the same interest. And our purpose, Novozymes is a company which is very much founded on sustainability And our purpose is also the shared purpose for a healthy planet, which we share with everyone here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Shirley, for sharing the insight from the industrial perspective. As we know that part of the journey for planetary health also means you have to be solution-oriented. And she has proposed a nature-based one that should be applauded. So the next question then, which has been asked from Dr. Renzo about ethics, and he even mentioned about Islam. And then Puan Hazami again brought up about working together with the civilizational dialogue. So I welcome Professor Dr. Azizan on board, and she as a no better person that you can find that can talk in civilization, because part of the definition of PH is also about human civilization development. Now, Prof. Azizan is a forever friend for me, right from school. So as I said, it's from last century. And she had so many firsts attached to her. You know, she is presently she came back to thank you, as the director for CCD, which is on the civilizational dialogue, which she also pioneered some sort with Professor Dr. Osman Bakar. Then is also presently UKM Yayasan Saim Darby Chair for Sustainability. She has made tremendous mark in Malaysian scene, not only about bioethics. Do you know that she is also on the consultative panel of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission? Not many people know that as well. So Prof. Azizan is there everywhere, and I really welcome her to share her thoughts on the ethics part of the related to planetary health.
Thank you so very much, Professor Nick Mariam. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrahli sadri wa yassirli amri. Wa hlul min lisani yafqahu qawli. Most honorable, most respected, most loved Professor Insinyur Shaliza, Professor Abriza, Professor Nosadah, Puan Azami, fellow panelists, everyone present, the whole universe. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So that was just a small wish, prayer, intention, if you like, so that what we have shared today will manifest itself in the form of reality, be it small or big. But we are all here making our commitment to make things change for the better, inshallah. So I stand in a position that is quite, I wouldn't say difficult, but it's full of challenges, because we'll be speaking about ethics, morality, behavior changes, right? And this is what religion is called forth to implement, to expand. But then again, there are many religions, everybody claiming they are the one and only. So I will not get into that. That is why our center is called Center for Civilizational Dialogue. It is not inter-religious dialogue. Religions don't want to dialogue theology. They have their own stance, and we respect that. And as a Muslim, there are principles in the Quran that tells us to respect that. Al-Hujurat ayat 13. From the one man, Adam and Eve, and his wife, Eve, I deliberately created you into different nations and tribes, so that you might get to know each other, and the best amongst you are the best in taqwa. And taqwa is being close to those principles that I think we are all talking about today. Loving the planet, loving each other, making sure the gap between rich and poor is reduced. Think of the 17 SDG goals. Number 1, zero poverty, right? Number 2, zero hunger. So how can those two be achieved when the gap between the rich and the poor is rising every day as we speak, right? And it has been pointed out, this issue is not about pure intellectuality and ideas. It's about changing behavior. And this, to my very humble mind and species like me, I say that because I would not want to create any misunderstandings. In the age of the media today, social media, sometimes people, because they have certain perceptions about things, they pick certain things that you say and they frame it in a certain way and it becomes viral. And then they say, look, this lady is menyamakan semua agama. Read my lips. I am not doing that. I'm talking about that part of human beings. 85% of the global population claim that they belong to a certain faith group, right? So I would like to put that very clearly right up front, so that if anybody has any questions vis-a-vis Islam, for example, because I can only stand for being a Muslim. Okay? I cannot speak on behalf of the religions, but I will have to be talking about the other faith groups as well, because they are all my neighbors. And in Islam, neighbors have rights upon us. We have to love the neighbor as we love ourselves. Otherwise, your iman is not complete, and so on and so on. So, number 2, there is a lot of religiosity, but a dearth of spirituality. In form, religion seems to be thriving, but in essence, in the socio-behavioral aspect, there's a lot to be demanded, there's a lot more to be expected. So I am very humble about this, because you've invited me. Thank you so very much. I am very happy to be here, but our task is not easy, but I also stand as a bridge maker between the ulama, the theologians, the people who are very deep in their religious knowledge, and the fantastic people who are the scientists, the policymakers, like Puan Azami, and everybody else. Our friend from Novozyme was so very excited. Want to go back and try out some of those bio solutions. Not that I know what the enzymes will be in what I'll be using. So, so those are some of the things I hope I will be able to touch upon. And if I am short of what I promise you, please ask me and be in touch with me again in the future, inshallah. So does religion promote pro-environmental behavior? So point number 1, we just want to say, for those people who are not within the 85%, who say that I'm an agnostic, I'm an atheist, I'm not there yet, and so on and so on, for those people who prefer to just speak in conventional language, don't mix religion with, have you heard that statement before? Don't mix religion with other things. Have you heard that before? So I respect that. I respect those people, whatever statements you want to make. I'm just saying, conventionally speaking, amongst people who believe and amongst people who do not believe. Belief here is primarily in the existence of a creator who created things, who put the mizan, who put the balance, who put the all the details, and he continues to run and govern the universe in ways that maybe sometimes we fail to understand and we go overboard. This is where the morality and ethics come into the picture. So it has been accepted by empirical research, the role of religion. So the most prominent social institution is religion. Religion is the most prominent social institution, whether you like it or not. And it has, according to this particular report, according to empirical survey, religion induces pro-environmental behavior, pro-climatic, pro-environment maknanya how to take care of the climatic issues and all that. Yeah, it leads to that. And religion has a positive effect on ecological donation and participation in the environmental demonstration. Okay. We know that religious institutions also have a lot of money. And these monies can go into research. These monies can go into social upliftment, better livelihoods, and so on. Talk about just now the social injustices vis-a-vis poverty and hunger and all that. So religious institutions have a capacity to take care of all that. Yeah. And another report. There's so many reports, but proper research, I would say, is needed in terms of putting it all together. Like all of our colleagues were saying, we need now to put it all together. We need now to work together. And this is much earlier in 2007. The one I showed you was in 2020. This one is in 2007. Why religion is important? Because religions has this function in society whereby it spreads ethical teachings. It has reach and influence and ability to inspire adherence to action. Inspire to action. I won't go into details, but those of us who are Muslims, for example, we know that we will be taken to task for what we have done in our lives, right? And we believe in our rukun iman, in our pillars of faith, right? We believe in the unseen. I can stand here for another half an hour to talk about what is the unseen. The ghaib is actually scientifically not ghaib at all. Like, can you see my voice? Can you see the sound waves that make up my voice? No, you can't. That is ghaib already. Yeah. So I also dabble with science and religion in the sense that I would like us to create a narrative where the religious people can understand, the scientific people can actually make good their so-called scientific knowledge in telling everybody, especially the religious, that this is the things that you need to do to mitigate climate change and to make the planet a healthy one for the future for everyone. So the narrative is critical. And this is one of the reasons why the Center for Civilizational Dialogue is there. So we'd like to work with everybody as well. And then again, in 2014, UN Chief Climate Chief, Christiana Figueres, she has condemned climate change as one of the great humanitarian issues of our time, arguing that faith leaders must take a stronger stance. I think that's a direction. I arahkan you all take action, yeah. And she says in an article published in The Guardian, she says, saving the earth and its peoples from dangerous climate change is an economic, social, and environmental issue and a moral imperative. And morality, in the context of what Prof. Nick was alluding to, yeah, morality, ethics is a forte of religion, supposedly. But it depends a lot on a proper understanding of the religion. Therefore, in the context of education, I would like to say religious education, and I say this very respectfully, we are on social media. Yeah, we are on social media. I don't make any pretenses, I'm scared. Because the religious people say, you are not a religious leader, are you? So, how do I say this, Prof. Shaliza? With the greatest respect to everybody, I am responsible. Prof. Shaliza Inusimla is not responsible. I'm making this humble statement. Yeah, curricular. I think somebody mentioned it. Maybe Ponazami. Curricular in religious studies, in all the subjects, we're talking about schools and universities, for example, has to imbibe some of these ideals of planetary health, the principles and all that. Prof. Desire, inshallah. Yeah, okay, so then once at Pusat Dialogue, many times actually at Pusat Dialogue, we've had visitors, scholars who are philosophers, who are scientists, who are historians, and they are all interested in climate change. This was way back, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, Professor Northcote is a theologian philosopher from University of Edinburgh. He wrote this book. He came and he spoke to us about it. And here I might say that it was at that time already accepted among so-called scholars in his league, yeah, and also people here in Malaysia, that religion has a great role to play. I'm emphasizing because the progress in this respect is not happening fast enough because people still work in silos. And there is such a thing as religious, what do you call it? You know, just now I think our last speaker spoke about You know, when you are at a certain discipline, it is not kesombongan. It's like thinking your discipline is like, you know, unique, and you don't have to be reaching out. You don't have to be breaking boundaries. But I think of all subject matters, religious studies have to actually be open a little bit. Yeah? So we all can think of Laudato Si, which is the Christian declaration for climate change, taking care of the earth. Laudato Si is Italian, which means praise be to the Creator. And what is stated there is that people and planet belong to the same family. You have to be taking care of it. So then, in the Islamic sense, we also have the Islamic Declaration for Climate Change. And it was initiated, among others, by this colleague, Fazlun Khalid, who wrote this book in 2019. And he says climate change and ecological collapse are no longer future theoretical risks, but real and present threats to our security now. If we are to avoid disaster, it will be necessary not only to present reason to power, but also to awaken the great faiths. Yeah. So if we say we believe in something, how do we prove it? Yeah. I think this idea was also spoken about just now. We believe in something, and you say you're committed to it. What is the proof? What is the proof? And Pandami, actually, I think you really nailed the paku on the head when you said that the social changes must take place, right? You cannot be just talking about this in theory. So he founded in 1985 the Islamic Foundation for Ecology and Environmental Sciences, a UK-based charity dedicated to the maintenance of the earth as a healthy habitat for all living beings. So my point in the last two slides is that the religious commitment has been there. It has been initiated by people who have a strong tradition in the religious faith that they belong to, but they also have the knowledge of ecology, a very strong one. And they have the commitment to put theory into practice, you know, and ilmu, iman, and amal. So you have faith, you have to have the knowledge, then you have to translate it into activities. And this is the basic principle in, let's say, Islam, for example. So it doesn't mean that when you have faith, you believe, I believe you, I believe in you, Allah, right? But you have to translate it into action. And this is the jihad that is being called for. But guess what? Jihad has been, you know, downtrodden to you know, indicating something that's negative. Yeah? Jihad means struggle. Jihad is struggle. Yeah. So Faith to Action 2015, a group of Muslim environmentalists together with United Nations agencies, policymakers, together with scientists who are non-Muslims, together with people from other faith groups. They met in Turkey and they put forth this Islamic Declaration for Climate Change. And here, it was very interesting, Prof. Shaliza, the faith leaders of other groups, they came and they said, wow, your Quran actually spoke about the environment? We didn't know that. You mean that Quran, because Al-Mizan, the balance in Surah Ar-Rahman, for example, is very prominent in the Islamic philosophy of planetary health. So they, you know, the point here is, the sad part here is dialogue between people of faith is critical. Again, I emphasize, it is not inter-religious dialogue. It is dialogue between people of different faith groups. Okay, and we owe it to one another. If you look at the Earth Charter, we are now at the cross point, yeah, where we need to tell one another our commitments to each other for the future and all of that. So this was a very memorable occasion, and I was part of that. And the declaration consists of a preamble, the what and why of climate change. And here, of course, we base our data on real scientific work, yeah, touching upon the Anthropocene, finally. And then the affirmation, which is the Islamic view regarding environment and climate change. This is the part where I think Muslim businessmen, Muslim policymakers, Muslim politicians, yeah, Muslim scientists can converge in a kind of framework, common framework that would help what Puan Hazami was talking about just now. And then there is the call for action. and this is the way forward. And again, it takes care, or it explains how the Sharia, another word which is so scary to a lot of non-Muslims who do and all that, yeah. So Sharia means the way. The way to what? The way of what? The way of life that is pro-planet, yeah? And so on and so on. And there is a list for stakeholders, citizens, leaders, governments, corporations, etc. Since we have a time limit of 10 minutes, we can't go deep, but everything that we say here, each one of us, Prof. Nick, I'm sure there are things that we can go deeper later on our own time. And finally, climate change literacy is actually fardu kifayah, community requisite knowledge, which means if you don't have that knowledge, you are doing dosa, you're doing the opposite of good. Yeah? And we know as Muslims, fardu ain, of course, the critical knowledge, individually requisite knowledge, knowledge about God, about the Quran, about what we need to do as Muslims. Yeah? But there is also the knowledge that in a community, at least a number should have knowledge of this. And I think today we have done that part. Yeah? And the knowledge and all the presentations today, I hope Prof. Nick, Dr. Fong, Prof. Abriza, we can compile it, make something out of it, a kind of document, and share it at least with the panelists, because each one of us cannot work alone. Yeah? At the center, for example, we need this empirical data, this empirical knowledge to advance our so-called need for new narrative between science and religion, science and planetary health. So I always like to quote Alfred North Whitehead, again, for friends who are scared of religion, who are scared of spirituality, who are scared of Sharia, who are scared of jihad, don't worry. This idea was already talked about by Alfred North Whitehead, a philosopher, a mathematician, and he says the future of humanity depends on the harmonious relationship between the two great cultural forces of humankind, which is religion and science. And of course, by science, not just chemistry, it's not just physics. We mean all subject matters that use empirical data, yeah, that is organized knowledge, that is proper discipline. Okay? And of course, Einstein said science without religion is lame, religion without science is blind. Yeah? And to us, we kind of interpret this. Akli is the world, knowledge about the world. Nakli is knowledge through revelation. And these two actually are in harmony. And there are many people who write about this. And so there is no clash between religious knowledge and scientific knowledge. And again, there's another diagram there. Yeah? What is science, what is religion? And most critical in the middle is the worldview. From science and from revelation, we have to create a worldview, a weltansiong, a mindset. Who are we? What are we? Where did we come from? Why are we here? And where are we going after this? And whilst we are here, how should we live? Now you can say this is philosophy, you can say this is religion, you can say this is poetry, it's up to you. But today, Prof. Nasada, this is the critical point. People are already doing conferences on the future of civilizations. Then I think you need to ask, what is being civilized all about? What is civilization? Why do you want to be civilized? In this postmodern age where anything goes, right? You talk about X generation, but what is it now? Is it Z? Where anything goes, I do what I like, my body is mine. These are the issues that need to be looked at, not in an emotional way, but in a scientific way. That's what you need, dialogue. You need to respect people. You need to listen. You're upset, you feel like bashing everything up. You want to claim you are gender, this and that. So can we listen? Where did this come from? What happened to you? I think this is highly critical, and this is where the humanitarian side is very important. But then there are, amongst the theological group, when you say we need to claim our common humanity, they've got some misunderstanding there. For me, the answer is very simple. We're all Bani Adam, right? Coming from the religious perspective, we are all Bani Adam. Did we all come from anywhere else? For the religious person, for the non-religious, it's okay. Kan? I started from an amoeba. It's okay. It's up to you. It's all right. Let's talk about that. And the most recent research by National Geography, I think you've seen the report, the video. The scientists have discovered that all the Y gene that is responsible for the maleness in human beings actually can be traced down to the one single human person. And for lack of a better idea, he called this person the biological Adam. So even in the purely scientific realm, there are indications that we are all united as a species. So if you are a religious person, a Muslim for example, you would want to capitalize on this. What do I mean by capitalize? Gunalah itu, use that evidence to forward the acceptability of some more religious principles that will help planetary health. So then I think this person, I've quoted him so many times, change of mindset, this is the worldview. There is no doubt that the rapid progress of globalization taking place as a result of technology will not lead to sustainability if it's not accompanied by a movement of global ethics at an equally rapid pace. Again, some people think the word global ethics is a hantu. You global ethicists, are you? You're out to colonize me, beware. So I will not be upset with people who might say that because they don't understand. So please, can we stop the hatred? Can we stop the, you don't understand me, do you? I give up. This is exclusivity. Don't do that. Just now we said we're all Bani Adam, right? Just now we said my iman is not fulfilled if I don't love another person like I love myself. You know, we just said that. So, and differences of opinion is expected, is natural and all of that. So that's why we need to demystify certain words, certain phrases, and talk about it and explain it. So the illiterate of the 21st century, we are in the 21st century, not 22nd yet. So Prof. Nick keep talking about the last century. Will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn. Learn what? All this new stuff. Unlearn all the bad stuff lah. Fossil fuel based things, and relearn. For me, the greatest relearning is about who and what we are. Who and what we are. In relation to the environment. You can't do everything that you like because the environment has certain limits. Tu je. Cannot, we know that already, isn't it? You cannot raise the temperature because the whole planet is having a high fever already. If babies have a high fever, what happens? It affects the brain, kan? I mean, there are serious consequences. So that's what we are seeing now. So reviewing our worldview and mindset, which is how we view nature, ourselves, what meaning we give to life, all translatable into how we govern, economics, policy making, manage, work, live, and sustain the earth and ourselves. And this is the scope of ethics. So if you don't like the word religion, it's okay, stick to the word ethics and morality, but vis-a-vis planetary health. So then another revolution has been spoken about for 2 to 3 decades, I think. We all heard of the Industrial Revolution, right? A few hundred years ago, which is very important. It changed us from a certain condition in the world to industrialization, and we are seeing now we are what, 4IR? Is it 5IR? Right. So now people are saying after the pandemic, especially what's happening with the planet, we need to move to the next revolution, which is the sustainability revolution. And I think this is where everything comes to a point. They did that very nice graphics, kan? Who was it? Tengah-tengah tu. Was it Puan Azami? So all the slides are wonderful. Prof. Abliza, you already got your first textbook as far as I'm concerned. Coming up from IAIS, seriously. You just have to elaborate the points. And then, and this is the thing that we need to remember. The sustainability literacy is something that is a wajib, that is imperative. And I think this is what we hope to elaborate if we can do a small tiny service to the ASM's big project. So these strategies, creating learning communities, learning from experience, fostering a new cultural worldview, thinking systematically, embracing diversity, whole person learning. Like embracing diversity is not easy, you know. There's a lot of diversity you can be talking, not just racial, religious, you know. Just intellectual diversity is already overwhelming because each discipline knows so much. And for you to say that is not enough, you need to know other things. It's not easy. So sustainable literacy is the basis for sustainable living and for all the SDGs. And sustainable literacy requires associated skills such as communication, problem solving, change management, systems thinking. You know, the old mythological image, yeah, who's a scientist? This is about 50 years ago, Prof. Nick. She's the one with the white lab coat, very thick glasses, right, who stays in the lab. So that image is gone, I think. Yeah, it has to be, you know, everyone has to have other skills, especially dialogical skills to communicate and solve problem together with other people. But the initial challenge is there is a dissonance between beliefs and actions. We know what we need to do, but our actions are still not showing that we are doing enough. So the desire to make the world a better place, but behaviors are hard to change. So again, in terms of religiosity and spirituality, okay, those of us who are practicing, okay, our religious commitment is a daily affair. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alamin. My life and my death is for you, O Almighty. So we can just think every day, how has that been? Yeah? For today, at the end of today, I will ask myself, how did I do that? But what did I do for that? Yeah. So then I love this part very much because you're talking about humanity so much, talking about the human being so much, and I think we've lost a lot of these ideas. The fact that we not only have to develop the brain, we need to develop the heart. There's a lot of scientific literature on what actually is the heart. You can speak about the physical heart, but at the same time, you'll also be learning many, you know, wonderful things about the heart, such as it is more intelligent than the brain, actually. Now, what does that mean? Is there a university? Is there a curriculum today that actually speaks scientifically, psychologically about the heart? And in religious terms, they're talking about the dead heart, the diseased heart, the good heart. Now, how do we speak about this in a scientific way so that we don't sound as if we're shoving things down people's throat? You know what I'm trying to say? Because some people, they retaliate and say, don't insult our intelligence. Tolonglah, I really, really hope and pray that, you know, we can all be open-minded, leave a little bit of space, you know, you just listen, maybe you can learn one or two things. And then the hands, of course. You need to be doing things, and I hear that this is not like too good in the system that we have today. And the connectivity, the spiritual intelligence, what does it mean to be spiritually intelligent? What does it mean? Just generally speaking, spiritual intelligence means having this capacity to not lose hope. Why do you think Superman, Batman, Superwoman, all these people are very, very popular? Why do you think? Because there is this natural urge to want true justice. When the whole world is against you, you know inside, something inside you says, no, that is something that will take care of me. What is that thing? So connectivity to that thing needs to be developed. But those who are strong, alhamdulillah. But there are many out there who are, you know, standing in the face of all kinds of challenges and they don't know which way to go. And the good news is, in the authorities, like JAKIM, for example, they already see how the SDGs are actually very much in line with the objectives of the Sharia. Because the objectives of the Sharia is actually encompassed in these 5 main things: protection of religion, protection of life, protection of intellect, protection of lineage, protection of wealth. And they put this into a system, you know, that actually can be applicable. But I hope some of us at least who are interested can lend support to this, because our friends who are doing this, there are not too many of them, and they need support, both from the empirically based sciences and also from the other disciplines. Yeah. So there is a need today for literacy on causes causes of climate change and its impact. And there is a need for a new language, a new narrative that will harmonize scientific and religious knowledge that can strengthen practical actions through various capacities towards mitigating climate change. And we need to share actual programs, said this also, yeah. And we need to utilize the media platform. Everybody is on TikTok. Strengthening of networking among government organizations, already said. So we support what has been said. And just to give you one example, yeah, common language you're talking about. So this verse 30, ayat 41, it says, corruption has happened on land and sea because of what people's own hands have wrought, that he may make them taste, experience, understand a part of what they have done so that they may return to Allah, which is tawbah. Returning is what? All that you've been saying just now. Itulah dia. So reading that narrative from the perspective that I'm talking about now, that is very much acceptable. Betul semua tu. But then it requires you to be less wasteful, isn't it? Less wasteful, less tamak apa dia? Greedy, yeah? Less selfish, right? Then how do you do all that if you don't have a belief that all that you are sacrificing actually will have a reward? For those of you who are in that mode lah. If I give this up, what do I get in return? So that is, in religious tradition, that is. If you give up something for the good, you'll be rewarded. But then you need to believe that the reward is coming. Yeah? And then there's a lot of science and knowledge about what is death, what is passing on and that, which is another thing that is very important today. You need to embrace the concepts of life and death ni. Because you know you're going to be dying one day, there's a life is so critically important. Don't waste it, not even 1 second of it. So you can always change it around. So these are some of the things that we speak about. And finally, elements of hybrid knowledge ni. So some people would say, dia pun hybrid, you know, what biology and then go into philosophy. But then just now we spoke about systematic thinking, holistic thinking, kan? We talked about interdisciplinary. This is it lah. So why are you upset about hybrid? Why? Even the cars are hybrid car. So this is why philosophy comes in. Every word, every concept that you use, what do you mean by it? Define it. And why is it important? What do you want to have planetary health for? For what? Why do you want to reduce eating meat and take on the mushrooms and whatnot? Daging lagi sedap. And so on. So this is important because we need to explain in as many ways as we can. So on the left, we just go back to Maslow's theory, right? So what's most critical for a human person to be a proper human person? Physiological needs, safety needs, belongingness and love needs, esteem needs. Barulah orang tu boleh reach self-actualization. And at that point in time, this person is not independent. He is interdependent with others. Before that, he is independent. But after that, he realizes the jama'ah is very important. So then, most, simply for the Muslim, they put these 3 circles together. You need to balance your relationship with the Creator, with fellow human beings, with the environment. So all this is critical. And then, again, all this is subsumable under the Maqasid Sharia. So last, so just tiny-weeny examples. So I think the current ministry has started to come to put into reality certain concepts such as the wakaf, which is public donation, crowdfunding. In this case, is to help the water capacity. So wakaf, in fact, donations and all this philanthropic. I remember Prof. Nick talking about philanthropy before, right? I mean, when you have CSR, this is the conventional way of giving back. So for the believers, when you infaq something, when you donate something, the reward it goes on. So the word jariyah means it flows forever. So that's it. In conclusion, yes, we all need to work together. Let's work together. And we are working with everyone. And I hope that some of these discussions can be also be taken to other campuses and other organizations. Sekian, wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Dr. Azizan. In the morning, we said we want to give a forum with a difference. The fact that you have stayed for so long, I hope we have achieved some of that. And really, Prof. Azizan, I really don't have the heart to stop at 10 minutes because there's so much to be shared. And I think not keeping to the normal way that you do forum, it's really worth it. I hope the audience and the virtual people agrees with it. It's not often that we can get together and share this eloquently. You know, I'm always unlearning, relearning, all that sorts of thing. Every time I go to any conferences, I always come back with something new that I need to better myself. So, but we have to be time check. It's already 12:22. So we don't have much time because I think in the afternoon, some of us have other things to do. So I invite the Secretariat for us to all call together the 4 speakers today to answer, to have a short discussion. And I hope among the audience they are ready with some questions and also from the chat box from the individual on what can be done. So maybe we take 1 minute to arrange the chairs so that we can be together at the front. Okay, so please keep the questions coming because I think from the questions we will be able to share a lot more on what the gaps are. And I also would like to invite our speakers to come to the stage. You have only one microphone. Only one microphone. I think it's been quite a long morning, so we will try to keep it wrapped up in about 20 minutes or 20 minutes or so, right? I mean, the questions can keep on coming through IAS later on through the whatever media that you would like to come in. I had this burning question, if I can start off, and I would like, you know, coming from a sustainability background, you know, we have gone from MDG, Millennium Development Goal, we have gone to SDG, and now we find pH, and pH came up in about the same time, if we look at the definition in 2015 from Rockefeller and Lancet. And from industry's point of view, now you have to do ESG, environmental social governance, so many things to do. So is there a convergence somewhere in between the pH law, ESG law, SDG lagi? Now Dr. Renzo is shaking his head, so I'm going to ask him to give some points, and I invite the rest as well.
Thank you so much. Wow, that's not an easy question. Although, as you've rightfully noted, you know, in different corners, there are these discussions happening. So I think, again, echoing what Professor Azizan was mentioning, you know, our common humanity, you know, what are our common values? I think now everybody's really realizing that we are in a situation that cannot we cannot proceed business as usual. We need to be reconnected with the earth. We need to be humbler. I think humility is one thing that actually have been echoed several times during this entire morning. Being humble as human beings towards the planet and other creatures, great and small. Being humbler in terms of being a member of the civilization. I'm a Christian, but I am so deeply inspired learning about the Islamic faith and how it views the planet and, again, our shared humanity. Being humbler as academics, right? Breaking down the silos and really pursuing a truly transdisciplinary approach to solving this problem. So I guess, right now we're in a state where everybody is realizing something. And yes, there is a need for a shared, I guess, platform. Maybe that's Planetary Health. Of course, maybe I'm also biased because we're the ones promoting, this concept, this paradigm of planetary health. But also, I think, for example, at Sunway, we've been reflecting about planetary health vis-a-vis sustainable development. That's another term that many people say, oh, that sounds like planetary health. But unfortunately, I think sustainable development, it's a beautiful term, right? With a very beautiful meaning as well. Taking care of future generations while we take care of ourselves. Unfortunately, I think it has fallen short in terms of achieving its, articulated goals. And unfortunately, even the SDGs are probably at a very high risk of not being achieved, with the 8 years that are remaining and a pandemic that derailed progress. So, yeah, I guess that's the context where we are in right now. Maybe my other colleagues have something to add.
Yep, we can go down the line to give
From
some.
from the industry perspective, I'm looking at what we were discussing. All of us have the same vision, but we are all working at different platforms and we are actually contributing in a complementing way. So I think it's really very important. Like today was a platform for us also to understand that there's so many other complementing initiatives going on, and there should be one leadership, perhaps the IAS or even the Academic Science of Malaysia, or even the government authorities, to make sure that they bring all of us on the same table and all of us can contribute to that. If you look at the industry, again, what we have done is like we also look into all the sustainable development goals. We look at our company as what we want to give back to the society, and so we look at exactly like what is also outlined in our religious books. I mean, I'm a Christian as well, and this is the same thing that we're taught. We take it from the earth, we give it back to the earth, right? And this company is doing so. And previously what happened was all industrial and technological advances were based on chemistry. Now we are sourcing all those raw materials back from earth, from planet itself, and then processing it into something which can be used in our daily lives. And I think what is really very important is, again, it has to start from us, each one of us. We have the solutions. Do we want to make a choice of continue to use the chemical based or all other technological advances which are readily available, or be conscious, be mindful about how we want to contribute to the health of the planet and make the conscious choice of using solutions which will not be detrimental to the planet.
Wan Hazami, perhaps from the strategic point of view at the national level, because you deal with a lot of policies and you see it across the board.
Thank you. I think the right word that both panel has mentioned is a shared vision. We can have SDG, ESG, Paris Declaration, whatever, but what is the matter is what is the end game? The end game is a shared vision. The big picture now that we see, that thing that people connect is planetary health, because we are connecting about human health, animal health, environment health, so on and so forth. But to come up with a shared vision, we need to have shared responsibility. And to come up with shared responsibility, we have to share our resources, share our brain. Tadi yang Datuk Azizan cakap tu, the heads, the heart, the hand, apa yang last? Spirit need to be connected. We cannot do one way policy, but we are practicing another way. It does not work. That's why I said when we said whole government and whole society approach, we mean it fully. Each of us, from as an individual, into a jama'ah or community, into a nation, into a region and global. You need to be connected. If we are not connected, the problem is in the government, we need to change the mindset again. Mindset has to be changed at all levels. At the government, they are still using the old template under the new landscape. Kalau kabinet kata, we want to eradicate poverty, give more money to Kementerian Luar Bandar. But poverty happens in urban area. Bandar population in Malaysia is only 20% now. But they are still using the old template in budget system. So the gaps will still happen. So these are things that dia tak boleh automatic. Poverty eradication, Kementerian Luar Bandar get more money. Nampak tak? It's automatic. So we need to change that because the landscape has changed. So these are things that we need to have the shared responsibility, shared vision, and shared resources. Thank you.
Prof. Aziza.
I support everyone in all that has been said, but maybe my tiny weeny input at the end here is speaking as a Muslim, yeah, Prof. Tauhid lah, Tauhid. You really have to make the Creator the center of what you're doing because that's the only self-sustaining energy source that you have because it's not an easy task. There's so many things to do. We need to communicate lah, apalah, but at any one time, you know, you think that you're doing half of, you know, what you're supposed to be doing, right? But you also need to take care of your mental health. There are a lot of people in this world today suffering mental health. Out of what? Anxiety. I know in one country, which I don't want to speak the name of the country, the suicide rate is very high because they feel that it's not coming to any fruition. 2030 is just around the corner. And the rivers are drying up and, you know, if you go in that direction and see all the bad signs, it's very easy for you to give up and to just let go. And seriously, you really need that, for me, what I call internal strength lah. The theology, what you call it, you need your own personal theology, which is what? In our particular case, for example, it's a tauhid. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya. So little or small, and you know that you cannot change. Only with His help things can change properly. That's why the Ar-Rum ayat 13. So come back to tauhid, come back to the unity of godliness, if you like. Yeah, the basis of spirituality is what? Yeah? Depending on the Almighty's help, because none of us can do this on our own. Yeah. So, and we learn in our own tradition, if you ask, you'll be granted. But the problem is, are we asking? And you know, the people that don't want to listen, we need to also pray for them and you know, find a way, another way of working with them. I'm trying to think, yeah, trying to hope. If you say do this, that's not, they won't take it from us. They will not in 100 years. So what if we, I don't know, maybe tomorrow we can think of something. But I know today is the beginning of something, and I'm very hopeful that today is you know, you're talking about combining efforts, right? We can all be leaders. I'm sure Sunway College is, you know, great at something that UM is not, and UM is great at something that other universities are not. But the communication, macam mana? Who's going to take the lead? Still, you need to take the lead here. So ASM maybe, I don't know. So Prof. Nick, thank you so much. I can keep.
Okay, I think I dare not summarize also, but the word that I keep hearing is about sharing. At least that word can sum up all the feelings of all the various groups. It's about sharing. But following on, is there any questions from the audience? Yes. Please identify yourself. You can address any one of them or all of them.
So, hello. Good morning, everyone. Now it's actually good noon already. Thank you so much. I thought that was excellent.
Do you want any particular person to respond, or I invite anyone?
Okay, I will attempt something, yeah. The panel. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I think that's a very good question. The whole point, as I see it, of religion is to empower the individual. Alastu bi rabbikum. Am I not your Lord? This is what the Quran said. And we said yes. So there was a meeting point, and there is a one-to-one relationship. So there's no sharing of responsibility actually. When you, I'm sorry to speak in this language, yeah. If you don't like it, it's okay, you can close your ears. There will come a day when you be taken to task for what you've done. This is what the belief is all about. And there's nothing stronger than that can make you change your habits, right? You do the wrong thing now, this consequence is huge. People, people who don't like religion very much, kenapa ada neraka, kenapa ada syurga, why can't everybody just go to heaven? You don't understand, you're put here with all the capacities to be the Khalifah, the representative, the one taking care of the planet. You've been given this, you've been given this, you've been everything. And then you fail to use it, right? Thinking that it's not important. No, we're telling you it is important. That's why the reveal book is there to tell you the do's and don'ts. But this is the raw narrative. Yeah, you can imagine you're talking to 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 8-year-olds. How can you make them understand? So this is a process. And those who know are the ones who need to be most scared. You know, but you never told. You never shared. You never showed. So yang pandai-pandai tu beware. Those with power, those with decision making. And you think about it, yeah, why is like the torture and the punishment so huge for the wrong things, the maksiat, you call it, right? Because that's how big deal ethics is. Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, yeah? The most forgiving, most good, most everything, the best of the best, infinitely so. So right now we're trying to be walking in his shoes and trying to do what he's supposed, he gave us that mandate. So tak ada main-main lagi. So that's what I'm saying, like bila no poverty, no zero hunger and all that, and then you have this increasing gap, okay, between rich and poor. Who's going to put a stop to that? Do you have to be looking to the economic system? Are there economists here? So we need to be dialoguing with economists. But then again, after all of that, right? Take deep breaths. Inshallah. It can change, it will change. So the Surah Ar-Rum is very critical. We are made to taste all this, okay? I told you don't touch that one because it's hot. You the girl, maybe I've got special powers. And then you burn your hand, right? You felt the pain, right? So right now, what have you learned? Don't do it again. So you've risen the temperature, you've finished all the fossil fuel, not only for good, but a lot of it wastage and all of that. And right now, we are being shown the solutions. Kawan, cakap, all the enzymes, all those things. You can change. You can get it back. You can get it back. Don't lose hope. But then there are people, nak kiamat dah, tomorrow finish already, no need. Then what do you want to do then? Life goes on, you're still breathing, aren't you? So I'm talking about religion in a very empirical manner, in a very scientific way. And most critically, you cannot be losing hope here and here. If it's done here, this is useless. So let's dialogue about this. I mean, because we do with our Buddhist friends, our Hindu friends, but then again, those Muslims who don't really understand what we're doing, please don't do fitnah against us, right? And say that we are saying all religions are the same. No. Kalau religion semua the same, satu je lah religion. Tak ada, tak sama. But you people of faith, me person of faith, we need to be talking to each other because we've got the same problem in front of us. We need to feed ourselves. We need health. We need to bring them, and so on and so on. And we're all passengers of the same spaceship. But this is the hybrid knowledge we're talking about. And guess what? The religious authorities in Malaysia are aware of all this. They're also trying to do, and we need to help them. And then who said this? The UN chief, climate chief said that. It's your responsibility. Faith leaders, stop this. Tapi faith leaders, they were trained in something else. They were not trained in chemistry. They were not trained in planetary health. Jom lah. So by all means, this is what we think, Prof. Shaliza. Our humble function is at the center. Let's dialogue all this. Because it's not like before anymore. We've moved on to another phase. This is urgent. This is urgent. We need to make the solutions. Coming from all the heart, the head, the hands, the spirit. So let's demystify the spirit. Can we do that? Yes, we can. Bring back the personhood center stage. Nobody is unimportant. Everybody is important. But for that, you need a lot of, again, talking to each other and calling and all that. Thank you so much.
I think Dr. Renzo wants to say something.
Yep, wow. It's a hard act to follow, although, as I mentioned a while ago, I always encourage my students to have friends who are not fellow doctors. So I'm very privileged to have Dr. Azizan as a friend, because you have so much to learn from different disciplines, and I encourage all of us to do the same. Regarding personhood, I think admittedly in the growing field or discipline of planetary health, that is an area that needs to be further developed. And I think now, after hearing especially Professor Azizan, there's so much opportunity for us to actually strengthen, develop, those aspects of planetary health, especially coming from, Asian traditions, Asian philosophy. Not just Islam, I'm sure Buddhism, Hinduism, even Christianity have lots to say about, our relationship with the earth, personhood, and, how human dignity is deeply intertwined, if not inseparable, from planetary dignity, right? So that's my part one of my answer to you. This is really actually not just a research area, but an area for more dialogue. And again, my dream is for us to come up with, planetary health textbook from Asia, right? Drawing from teachings from Asian cultures and traditions. That will be a very powerful contribution to this growing community. The second part of my answer is, if you're dealing with personhood or, are being human beings, facing all of these problems. I think what I've not heard much from our discussion, and myself included, I should have spoken more about this, is the economy, the issue of the economy. Right now, we have an economic system that destroys the planet and degrades our personhood, where we are seen as mere commodities or inputs to economic processes. And so, going back to UM's plan to build planetary health in the university, I think we need to engage the Department of Economics. Not to attack, right? The way, the frameworks that they use, but to engage and see how can we make or redesign an economic system that serves not profit, but serves people and planet. How can we encourage our economists to rethink the supply and demand curve? It is not a limitless curve. It is a curve that respects the planet's boundaries and limits. So, that's an invitation. If we want to talk about preserving not just the planet, but ourselves, as people, our personhood, we cannot ignore the elephant in the room, which is the economic system that drives all these planetary health problems.
Thank you.
Maybe at Academy now we are doing a study on government-linked research organization. More and more research organization is being questioned by the central agency, saying that what role are you playing? There is no return on investment. So slowly we said, government-linked research organization must do public good. It should not measured by return on investment, but measured on return on values. So these are things that, there's a change of mindset. How do we evaluate things? What are the missions? You can just close one research organization, but it will disrupt the whole ecosystem of R&D in the country. So these are things that we need to see from the economic perspective, because we cannot evaluate things one size fits all. If we do that, we will destroy things. Once you destroy it, it's not easy to develop it back. Right? Another thing is our education system or our culture. We need a talent that always have the lifelong learning philosophy. Learn, unlearn, relearn, co-learn, and co-create. Because knowledge moving so fast. What blockchain today and blockchain tomorrow, I don't know what is it anymore. Right? But to have that, you need to strengthen the 4 things that Dato' Azizan said just now. But how to strengthen that? When I start my first job at Institute for Policy Research, we start with this civic education, trying to put all these values. I don't know now in school dah tak ada dah kot. Is it? Whereby we train from tadika until ni, the heart, the hand, the spirit, and the mind. We train. Automatically we become a balanced person that understand the wrong and the right thing, and when we make decision, we are in power, you are in the position, you know what is it. Now we don't have that. What we have in school is rote learning. Hafal, get 9 A's, 13 A's, 12 A's, go to the renowned university, then that's it. So we need to change this. Even at our age, ni yang dah pergi from, I met her last century. Okay, 1990 I met her first time. Alright, I learned a lot. Then, and we keep on learning new things, and landscape has changed a lot. But yet we are still having the same system all over again, and we know it is not effective and impactful. So what we have today, we learn it from our children, and at my age, from our cucu. The environment, we learn from them. And if we don't put it back, then they will be cursing us in the future, maybe now. So these are things that it goes back to how we develop our values. It goes back to the person. Then we will have a strong community. Then we'll have a strong nation. One thing I learned from the foresight study that I did, that Academy did, I do one engagement in Sabah. Sabah have a very different landscape of society. So one pastor stood up among all the audience and said, in Sabah, we cannot use this tolerance principle. You have been using this tolerance, but Sabah doesn't work. So I said, sir, so what works? So he said, it's respect and accept. In my family, I have a Muslim, I have a Christian, I have a atheist, I have everything. But we respect and accept. That's how the community in Sabah is. So again, how we approach things and how we understand things, sometimes we have to see from a very bigger perspective and different perspective. And I keep on thinking, because we were taught tolerance, because we are very diversified community, so on and so forth. So these are coming from audience that I learn about it, and we kupas it in the dialogue. So that is some experience that I would like to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a burning question? It's nearly 1 o'clock. Is there a burning question? I know this is, let me introduce. This is my other friend. I have 2 of Dato' Azizan friends, girl and boy. So now I invite only 1 question before we break up for closing statement. Yeah.
What I want to ask is basically something like sustainability and planetary health and Islamic hadari. Those are words, and then they are thrown into you, and then suddenly you all get excited. Now, the first thing is the one that took the idea of planetary health is James Lovelock. James Lovelock took in this idea, and when you talk about planetary health, you talk about global science. And I remember attending ESM workshop on planetary health. He was talking on agriculture in Malaysia. But no, planetary health is about the whole food security chain, the whole supply chain. So when wants to enter into this planetary health, it has to enter with that particular perspective, global science and global responsibility and universal value that you're talking about. But the way I see it is that you're talking about Sabah. No, planetary health is more than that. It's about the globe. It's about the concept of planet Earth. And you have to read Gaia to understand, because that's the one that gives birth to this concept of planetary health. Thank you.
Would you like to get some responses? Maybe like he mentioned ASM, so maybe Fan Hazami.
Thank you. I agree with Dato' Azizan. Planetary health is about global, but something that you want to achieve at global level, it must start somewhere. It can start in Sabah or in Tapah or anywhere. It must start from somewhere to bring it up to global level. You can say big picture, big ideas, but if it does not cascade at the people, it's just an idea. So when we want to put up action plan for planetary health, national action plan from the academy perspective, you have to see from both angles, from the global angle and also from the local angle, to understand. Because if you go to the community and talk about planetary health, say, makan pun tak cukup, you're talking about planetary health. That is the real issue on the ground. But we want to say, this is important, this is about future, this is us. That's why when we do Science Outlook 2020, we look back 30 years because we want to understand our community and society. Once we understand it, then only we can put the right strategy on how to change the mindset. Something global have to go to local, something local want to go to global. You have to have a two ways. And that is what we are trying to do. And it's not easy to change the mindset at the ministry level, at the community level, and they have different. We went to Langkawi, you're talking about gamat is already extinct in Langkawi. They say, oh, it's okay, we can buy from Vietnam, we can buy from Thailand. But what we are doing is already extinct. The only species of gamat emas is already in Langkawi. I only knew about it because I went to the ground and I went with Prof. Aileen. If not, I don't know. So these are things, small, maybe it's small, it's not global, big, but it gives an impact at our society. So that is my view. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have to be mindful of the time. It's already nearly 1 o'clock. There are a few more things to wind up, very simple ones. But I would like to ask before closing this session, a one-liner from each one of you. Are we ready for planetary health in Malaysia?
We'll start.
Say yes or no.
Yeah, well, I think just to reinforce what our friend from ASM said, I think planetary health is a global science, right? It's answering global problems while also making an impact to the local communities that we ought to serve. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
From Novozymes, my one-liner is rethink tomorrow.
From academy, collaborate. I think that is the key that we can make a wholesome kind of approach. Thank you.
From the Center for Civilization and Dialogue, please let's have more dialogues and understand what dialogue is. Okay, so you see my hand here. This is how you perceive my hand, but I perceive my hand from here. So what do? We need to go there. Oh, that's what you saw. I'm seeing this. You're seeing something else. So this is why dialogue is critical. You need to see the other person's point of view, because if you don't do that, you're missing something very important. Thanks.
From the moderator, it's been such a wonderful sharing session with such eloquent speakers with so much knowledge to share. And I hope IAS will, be able to proceed further with their action plan. All greatness come from Allah and all the limitations are from us. Since tomorrow is Merdeka, Salam Merdeka to everyone from all of us. Thank you. I hand back to the Secretariat.
the new freedom.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Nick, and also all the panel speakers. I would like to invite all of you back to your seats first. So, all right. So meanwhile, we have conducted like few events throughout August under this UMPH awareness. So we would like to showcase what we have done. Yeah, what we have done previously throughout the course of 1 month. So you can have a look at this TV over here to just it's a quick recap on what you have done previously in 1 month. Enjoy. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your attention to the video. Thank you so much. All right, so moving on to the next agenda of today, which is also close towards the end of our special forum today. I would like to invite Prof. Shaliza to hand a token of appreciation to our panel speakers and also our moderator. Yes. I would like to begin with the first speaker then, Dr. Renzo. Thank you. So next in line, Puan Hazami. Miss Shirley? Dato' Azizan? Okay, so next I would like to invite Prof. Abriza to hand the token of appreciation to Prof. Shaliza first. And then, no, sorry, Prof. Nick Mariam first. Sorry, my bad on that. Right. And the last but not least, to Prof. Shaliza. Thank you, Prof. Shaliza, Prof. Abriza. All right. So before we end our session and we can go for lunch, let's have a group photo. I would like to request for all the attendees to move towards, to sit nearer towards the stage. So the photographer will actually take the photo from this spot here. Okay. Secretariat members, can you help? The tables, move depan, kita rapatkan kursi.